All year long, the Saskatchewan Roughriders have struggled with adversity. A weak running game. Quarterback controversy. And the fall of one of the CFL's all-time great kickers. Yet, here they are. One win from the playoffs. One win from the salvation of a season. The man on the hot seat for the Saskatchewan Roughriders is kicker Paul McCallum. He replaced the legendary Dave Ridgway. And although he was 5 for 5 last week, McCallum's biggest test may be coming up tonight in this crucial contest. The BC Lions may be in the playoffs, but head coach Dave Ritchie is definitely not happy. The Lions have lost 5 straight. So tonight, quarterback Danny McManus returns as the Lions starter as his team looks for their first win in a month and a half.
CFL Live. Tonight's game from BC Place. The Saskatchewan Roughriders and the BC Lions.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to the CFL Live on TSN. I'm Darren Detition. Glad you joined us tonight for our final CFL game of the year. And what a way to finish. Since the beginning of the season, the Saskatchewan Roughriders, like every other team in the league, has clawed and scratched its way through the regular season. Regardless of the problems and the pain at times, the objective for each and every player, it was simple. The playoffs and the Grey Cup. Tonight, the Green Riders control their own destiny. A win, and they advance to the postseason. If the Riders do beat the BC Lions, Saskatchewan would lay claim to the 5th and final playoff spot in the North Division. They would then slide down to the South Division, where they would face the Baltimore Stallions in the first round. But if they lose, that gives the Winnipeg Blue Bombers life. All Winnipeg would have to do is beat the Ottawa Roughriders tomorrow, and they would advance. It is unquestionably the biggest game of the year for Saskatchewan, and big for BC too as they try and turn it around for the playoffs. In fact, this game is so big that we need 3 guys in the broadcast booth to cover it. With more on the game, here's Glenn Suter, Leif Pedersen, and John Wells.
Darren, we've got 3 in the booth for our final game of 1995. Just 3 weeks from tomorrow, Grey Cup Day in Regina, Saskatchewan. This is the first official game ball of Grey Cup 1995 at Taylor Field. And when you look at things, Glenn Suter, the Saskatchewan Roughriders have a chance to be in their hometown Grey Cup. They're only 3 wins away. What do they have to do to get there?
Well, they have to do a couple of things. First of all, win tonight, which is no easy task here in BC Place Stadium to take on the Lions. But to win, they have to do 2 things. Continue to play strongly on defense. That is, stop the run of Corey Philpott. And on offense, use a little more imagination. So far this season, it's been Warren Jones to Don Narcisse. If I'm the defensive coordinator for the BC Lions, I double Narcisse, make Jones throw to someone else. But use any cliche you want. Saskatchewan Roughriders have to win tonight, which is not necessarily the case, Leaf, with the BC Lions.
Now, I knew you were going to come out with this cliche stuff. And, you know, Glenn, it's funny. You look at the BC Lions. 6 weeks ago, they were sailing at 9-3. Everything looked pretty good for them. They were the defending Grey Cup champions, and the season looked like it was going to be a great one. But something awful happened. They've lost their last 5 games, and they really are struggling. So Glenn talks about Saskatchewan in a must-win situation. I think it's really a must-win situation for BC tonight. You look next week, they travel to Edmonton for the semifinal. That's going to be a tough game. But 2 things have bothered the Lions all season long. Penalties and turnovers. And John Wells, I have to think that just once this year, maybe, the BC Lions are going to play an error-free game. And if they can ever do that, they're going to be tough to beat.
Well, it may be close to error-free, but there's a guarantee it won't be penalty-free for the BC Lions here at BC Place tonight. Darren?
Hey, thanks very much, guys. You know, it is what the world of sports is all about. 60 minutes or more, possibly a pressure football. Saskatchewan, they have to win the game to advance to the postseason. The Lions need to turn their fortunes around, and it all starts with Danny McManus. His counterpart, Warren Jones, he's got to score big in the red zone. And Corey Philpott leads the league with 20 touchdowns, just shy of a CFL record. Time now for the opening kickoff.
And welcome back to the stadium at BC Place. Final game, regular season for the Roughriders and the BC Lions. Lions at 9-8 on the season. Saskatchewan and head coach Ray Yock have won 6 times and lost 11. The Riders have lost their last 4 games by a total of 10 points. Dave Ritchie took the BC Lions all the way to the Grey Cup in 1994, but he's had his problems, particularly in the last 5 weeks. Paul McCallum, who took over for Dave Ridgway a week ago in Calgary, will get the evening underway with 2 deep for the BC Lions, Eddie Thomas and James Jefferson. Jefferson calls for it. He's out across the 25, and penalty markers on the very first play. Tonight's starting lineups brought to you by Mr. Sub. Fresh thinking is what we are. And Danny McManus, back to start after missing last week, tries to snap the Lions out of the 5-game skid. McManus has 18 touchdowns but 25 interceptions. Jamie Terrace is BC's outstanding lineman in 1995. Jim Mills makes his first start alongside Robert Gordon, Matt Clark are the outside receivers, Darren Flutie and Yo Murphy inside. And Corey Philpott goes after a CFL record for touchdowns. He has 19 total, and he is BC's outstanding player nominee. The penalty against the Lions, holding, and they'll begin back at the 15-yard line. McManus at the controls, and he's on target on his very first pass to Darren Flutie out at the 45. Brian Robinson, Saskatchewan's outstanding defensive player, 8 sacks, and so does his buddy Bobby Jurison. Ron Getz has been great in the linebacking core, and the safety Dave Van Bellingham is having his best year in Canadian football. He is the Riders' top Canadian nominee.
And already you saw it first down. What Saskatchewan wants to do is play a little more zone coverage to get their halfbacks involved to shut down the run, but McManus beat it.
Philpott takes the pitch, and he's wrestled down quickly with a penalty marker on the far side. That was Dale Joseph racing in with a tackle on Corey Philpott there.
Yeah, Glenn Suter, something you know a lot about is defense, and Jim Daly, the defensive coordinator of the Raiders, said tonight, look, it's simple. We have to shut down BC's running game, as you indicated in the opening. And one way to do it is to play zone on first down. Get your halfbacks up. Guys like Dale Joseph, who just made the play, and get them involved in stopping that running game.
Absolutely. That keeps your defensive backs looking back into the backfield. When you can play zone defense, your responsibility is to jam that receiver, keep your eyes on the quarterback in the backfield formation. That way you can run support quicker.
The option belongs to Saskatchewan on this penalty, and here it is.
Illegal crackback. BC number 84. The penalty is declined. It's second out.
Loss of 3 yards. The penalty goes against Robert Gordon.
And one of the things that Saskatchewan would love to do tonight is to really dictate to the BC Lions when they can throw the football. They want them to have to throw on second and long, and they're going to put a lot of people up close to the line of scrimmage right now to try and do that.
2nd and 13. McManus looks for Flutie again, and he hit Joseph in the back of the helmet. Dale Joseph covering on Darren Flutie. It'll be 3rd down BC.
If it looked like Dale Joseph got caught, they were playing the zone defense there, and Joseph, who was supposed to be in the deep outside third, took off and had to run with Darren Flutie, and it's lucky he did because that's exactly where the ball was going.
Lou Pasaglia into the game for the first time, standing at his 26-yard line. Punting average on the season, 38.9. Not up with the league leaders. 2 deep for Saskatchewan, including Ruffin. And Ruffin has a play near the 35. Looking for room, and he can't find much. He's stopped at about the 36-yard line. Warren Jones making his 4th straight start for Saskatchewan. He beat the Stampeders 2 weeks ago and came close last Sunday right at McMahon Stadium in Calgary. The offensive line anchored by Mike Anderson in his 12th season, the Riders' outstanding lineman nominee. Jamie Holland gets his first start at wide receiver with Don Narcisse, who leads the CFL in catches at the other outside spot, and Robert Mims is back to run the ball for Saskatchewan.
Talking with Warren Jones before the game, I said to him, I think first down against this BC aggressive defense may be your best passing down tonight, and he agreed with that. And he said, what I have to come out and do early is establish the short passing game right there.
working from the shotgun, and Jones is 1 for 1 out near the 40-yard line as he finds Don Narcisse. Narcisse has 5 yards in 144 CFL games with at least 1 catch. Dave Chater's in the middle of this all-Canadian defensive line for BC. Andrew Stewart, the BC nominee, is the top Canadian alongside David Benefield, and Virgil Robertson lead the way in sacks with 12 and 9 respectively. Lions Rookie of the Year, Shelton Quarles, has also been impressive in the secondary, almost the same as it has been all season with Europe in the middle. This is 2nd and 5 for Jones, and it's 2 for 2. Narcisse gets the catch out at the 50-yard line.
You know, it's funny, chatting with Don Narcisse, you know, against this bump and run coverage that he's going to see a lot of tonight, he liked it, and he liked to run hooks against it. Now, usually most receivers like to run hooks against guys that lay off, but, you know, kind of funny that Don Narcisse says, no, I like them up close because then I can get them turned around right off the bat, and you saw it right there. His first catch is a hook.
Narcisse is 2 for 2, and this one just a little high for Jamie Holland. Played a little bit for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, gets his first start, and he's been a Saskatchewan Roughrider for about 5 days.
You know, some of the guys down the field were kidding Jamie Holland before the game. Hey, what are you doing in that green and white? I thought you played for Winnipeg. He says, I play anywhere where I can be employed. Pretty good attitude.
Last year in Winnipeg had almost 500 yards receiving, played a couple of games there, and was just hanging around, picked up by Saskatchewan.
Holland to the near side this time on 2nd and 10. For Roughriders at the Saskatchewan 50. Jones back in a hurry. Here comes the heat. Jones goes long, and he has Holland for a first down and a big one inside the 30. Jamie Holland, first catch as a Saskatchewan Roughrider, nets 34 yards.
Well, it's going to be the responsibility of Jamie Holland when Tom Europe comes down to help out on Don Narcisse, which he did on this play. He's low. That means no safety in the middle. Warren Jones recognizes it, goes to Jamie Holland right where Tom Europe would have been.
Isn't that the truth, though? Whenever you play the BC Lions, you know you're going to get some opportunities to hit the home run down the middle because they do bring Europe out of there. And for Warren Jones, to his credit, he saw it and hit it perfectly.
Jones has completed 3 of 4 and has the Roughriders deep in BC territory. Dan Farthing makes the catch at the 22. Farthing, 36 catches, 479 yards, and 4 touchdowns coming in. Has 5 more yards for his total.
Warren Jones would dearly love to have a better outing against the Lions tonight than he did the last time these two teams played. 7 for 17, completed 41% against the Lions.
This is the kind of a defense, though, that can really upset your rhythm. You know, they blitz, sometimes they lay off, and you're never quite sure what they're going to do.
From the 21, Saskatchewan 2nd and 5. Here comes the heat. Jones steps up, fires, and he's got a reception and a first down. Far side to Don Narcisse. Tight coverage by Van Bellingham over there, but Narcisse has 6 yards and another Saskatchewan first down.
Yeah, this is a heck of a catch. You're going to see, watch how he uses his body to position himself between Eddie Thomas and the ball, and he just won't allow Eddie Thomas to get around him there. Takes the ball at his highest point so Thomas can get in there. I mean, technically, Narcisse, he's had great years, but he's having, obviously, his best year ever.
Obviously, Eddie Thomas covering on Narcisse that time, and Jones had to throw in a hurry, almost picked out. Right on the line is Kelly Sims. And Jones took a hit under some pressure from the BC Lions. Elgard in the area, and Sims won the battle.
And Leaf, the Saskatchewan Roughriders went with the spread offense. No backs in the backfield, and that made Tom Europe come out and cover back Robert Mims. That's why Elgard went to the post. Sims almost had himself a pick.
Well, there are certain formations that Warren Jones can use tonight to get that spread, and then he has a pretty good idea of who he's going to throw to before the snap.
On 2nd and 10, 8th play of the drive, Jones stands up, looks for Elgard, tipped away. Jefferson covering on Ray Elgard. Check that. Charles Gordon, 26.
You know what? On the last 2 plays, Elgard used to be able to run away from a lot of people. I just don't see that in Ray Elgard anymore. And You know, before, you know, like he had maybe 2 or 3 steps on Charlie Gordon, but that time Gordon in perfect position, and on the previous play so was Kelly Sims. And you know, you look at Ray Elgard, what a terrific career he has had, but there's no question he has lost a step.
Here's Paul McCallum, had a great debut as a Saskatchewan Roughrider, 5 for 5 last week, including a 52-yarder to tie the game against BC. And McCallum is 6 for 6 wearing green and white. Decent drive by the Roughriders to score first at the stadium in BC Place. It's Saskatchewan 3, BC nothing. It's been a long time coming for Bobby Cox, but the Braves are world champions. Victory tonight over the Cleveland Indians. BC Lions will begin at the 35-yard line, and here's what happened back on August 9th at Taylor Field. 43-25, Lions over Saskatchewan. Philpott and Millington had a couple of touchdowns in that game. Millington no longer available to the BC Lions.
Another one of those games, John, that the Saskatchewan Roughriders played well for 3 quarters defensively, and then it all fell apart in the 4th quarter. They've had a whole bunch like that this year.
Lots of narrow losses. McManus draws a flag here as he one-hopped it for Matt Clark. Procedure would be the initial indication. Clark with 51 receptions, 813 yards on the season.
No, it's funny, gentlemen. I really thought that the BC Lions were going to come out
Offside.
with the call.
BC number 85. Penalty is declined. 2nd down.
I really thought that BC would try and just establish their offensive line, which is a terrific run-blocking offensive line. And, you know, here we are into the 2nd series, and it's been throw, and only one running play to Philpott. I'm kind of surprised at how they've started the game.
2nd and 10 Lions at the 35-yard line. And early movement. Jurison was across the line this time. I'm not sure if he was intentionally drawn over.
I think it was a situation where you got a good staggered count by Danny McManus on the play. He went on 3. That's the 3rd sound on the snap count. And
Saskatchewan number 71. 2nd down repeated.
And here you have a look. Here's old Bobby Jurison right down at the bottom there, and he's just a little jumpy. You know, you always look to see if the quarterback's head's bobbing just a little bit, but Danny McManus's wasn't there. You know, Tom Wilkinson was the greatest at that. He gave it that hut. The head was jumping all over, and you couldn't help but go offside.
Lions back to 2nd and 5. To the near side. Flutie made the catch, and it rolled out of bounds. He's short of the 1st down. Interesting when you look at the BC Lions in 95. Flutie and Trevathan have not played together as slot backs in this BC offense since August the 3rd, and that has really been a key to the Lions' success. Was last year and in the early stages of this year.
oh, absolutely. And you know, there's only 3 BC Lions that have played in all 17 games for them. That's Tom Europe, Andrew Stewart, and Eddie Thomas, all on defense. They've had to make a lot of shuffling in that lineup.
Lou Pasaglia is standing just inside his 30-yard line. 2nd punt of the ball game. Lions down 3-0. High kick this time. Aaron Ruffin again, and nowhere to go. Stopped at the 26 after a 3-yard return. Louis got a pretty good kick away. 46-yarder that time. Jones back with the Saskatchewan offense, and we'll be back too.
CFL Live on TSN. Brought to you by Pepsi. Nothing else is a Pepsi. And by Bell. Advantage long-distance services from the Alliance of Canada's only full-service telecommunications companies.
Roughriders have the lead as you look at David Pitcher. Ray Yock. 22-13 lifetime against the BC Lions, and right up there on the all-time list in 3rd spot with 133 victories as a head coach in the Canadian Football League. He's had rather substantial success in Winnipeg, Edmonton, and even Saskatchewan against the BC Lions. Warren Jones engineered a pretty good drive last time. He'll begin at the 26 this time with a Saskatchewan 1st down. On target for Boyko. Out across the 45-yard line is Bruce Boyko. Comes up with his 25th catch of the season.
Well, that's one of the great plays to use to really offset that BC pass rush that's been so good this year. Watch David Benefield. He doesn't know where to go right here. Do I rush the passer? Do I stay back and play linebacker? He's all confused, and all of a sudden you get a first down, and Benefield's still trying to figure out that play.
18 yards for Boyko. His numbers on the season. Jones quickly for Narcisse, and he's trapped immediately. Grabbed by Jefferson right around the ankles. There was nowhere to go for Don Narcisse there. 114 catches for 1,211 yards and 8 touchdowns so far this season for Narcisse.
You know, I talked about in the opening how Don Narcisse has been the go-to guy. Now, James Jefferson on that play was in bump and run coverage. They tried to throw the hitch pass to Don Narcisse. Jefferson is a veteran. You go to that well too often, and he's going to take one back on you.
Loss of 2, making this 2nd and 12. And the Lions moved early that time.
And you know what? David Benefield's going to take a stupid penalty. He was offside, and he gave Warren Jones a little smack as he went by him, and I'm sure they're going to call it. And this is one of the big problems with the Lions all season long.
Illegal procedure. Saskatchewan, number 6.
Did they miss that one, Leaf?
Well, I thought, you know, when they threw that flag late in the backfield, they were going to get him, because Benefield, here he is right here, and you'll see, he gives Warren a little tap as he goes by. He gets caught. Well, do something good, David. I've been talking about you. Give him a little tap now.
No tap there, no flag on Benefield. 2nd and a bunch for Jones and the Roughriders. Here's Benefield. Jones got away from him the first time, but not from the second charge. Is Dave Chaters. Comes up with his 2nd sack of the season.
Yeah, I don't think you're going to make a living tonight being 2nd and long against this BC defense. I mean, it's just too easy for guys like Dave Chaters and Benefield to just come with a full head of steam. And although Warren Jones does a pretty good job here to buy himself from extra time, you know, he stumbles, and that's enough for Dave Chaters to get the sack. But 2nd and long is not going to get it done for this offense.
Now, they have to spread that ball around and start getting the running game involved to get in 2nd and short situations, like you said, give themselves more options.
Brent Manich. First punt of the ball game. Standing at his 15, a charge, and he just got it away. Thomas, the lone man deep for BC. It rolls to the 45. Thomas draws some penalty markers and then takes out. Still going. Thomas with a man in front. Will he be caught from behind yet? Ron Getz finally got to Eddie Thomas. Will check out the infraction. It was a 35-yard punt, but a 41-yard return.
CFL Live, brought to you in part by 3M Canada, imagining the unthinkable and developing the unknown. That's 3M Innovation at work.
First big break of the ball game for the BC Lions, set up here.
Well, Frank Pimisker, the walk-on from UBC, walked on to training camp, and look at that. Almost got his hands on that punt by Brent Manich.
And at the other end, it's Thomas on the return. He draws a no-yards penalty here. But he takes this back 41 yards.
Well, how many times have you seen that happen? You know, the returner lets the ball just kind of roll around the ground, and all the cover guys get in there like a herd of cattle at feeding time, and then, you know, it doesn't take a heck of a lot with speed that Eddie Thomas has to get outside and get the big return.
And another infraction on the return against Saskatchewan sets BC up at the Rough Rider 15-yard line. First down for Danny McManus. Corey Philpott.
Well, you alluded to the BC Lions, Leaf, trying to get that running game going, and it's important, even if they only get 2 yards on the running game, it makes Ron Getz and the linebacking core for Saskatchewan respect it, and they don't get into their pass drops as quick, and what a year this guy's had.
3 yards on the previous carry, but well over 1,000 yards in 1995. Has some receiving yards added in there. 3 yards on the previous play, making it 2nd and 7 as McManus gets a little heat, looks to the end zone, and the intended receiver. And Brian Randall, who came up from the Eagles camp in '94 in his rookie season with Saskatchewan, was covering.
Intentional forward pass interference. Saskatchewan number 22 in goal. First down BC, 1 yard line.
Randall was the player that fell down on the play, but at the goal line, he created the contact, and the officials had no choice but to make that call. So the BC Lions get a bit of a break and get it first and goal on the 1.
Couple on this drive. So the Lions, first down, touchdown to go at the Saskatchewan 1. A pretty good time to hand it off to Philpott. He's over the top. 16th rushing touchdown of the season for Corey Philpott. One away from a CFL record. Total touchdowns in one season.
Well, the good teams usually take advantage of a break, and that was a break to set it up on the 1 yard line for Corey Philpott. Up and over the top. He's as good as there is in the league at getting airborne in those short yardage situations.
I'm always amazed. You know, usually a guy will hit the ground and jump at about the 1 yard line. Philpott does it from about the 5 and still makes the end zone.
Yeah, he's got that good vertical leap, as they say. And, you know, you try and just torpedo yourself, it makes it very difficult to stop.
1 touchdown away from that record. Touchdowns in a single season.
Owned by Alan Pitts and established last year, Corey Philpott now has 21.
You look at the season that Corey Philpott's had. He had more yards a year ago, and his average per carry was higher, but I think he's been more of a team player. And there you see the touchdown record that he is now tied and one away from having it all by himself. But I think he's matured a lot as a player. Last year, you know, he didn't practice always as well as he should have. In fact, Dave Ritchie sat him down for a while, teach him a lesson, give him a little slap on the hand. But this year, he's a much better player. And even though the numbers aren't quite as good, he's giving this team more than he gave it a year ago.
21 touchdowns, not a bad year at all.
But he had a good year in touchdowns last year, too. He was up around 20 in total. So, you know, but as a person, and as a contributor, I think he's a different player in '95 than he was in 1994.
I completely agree with you. I mean, this is a guy who's all of a sudden taken on a leadership role with the football team, and that's something that he was nowhere near last year.
Well, it's maturity. You know, sometimes as a young guy, you come in and you don't know how to be a pro. I mean, Glenn, you've seen it with a lot of young guys. Hey, you know, you can play the games and you always give it the big 110, 100%, all that stuff in the games because the games are fun. But practice isn't fun, and Corey Philpott had to learn how to be a real pro, and sometimes it takes a while.
Penalty against the BC Lions on the point after. Rough play. Now Caravana will kick off from his 20 after the Lions touchdown. BC on top, 7-3. Saskatchewan ready to return with Ulmer here, and he's nailed. Costello was there, and so was Paul Blackwood. Corey Philpott, first touchdown of the game, a 1 yard rush. Lions had a couple of breaks, including a solid return to set them up, so it didn't take long to get to the end zone.
Well, I felt that hit. I don't know about you guys, but I felt Keith Costello's hit on Terrell Ulmer all the way up here in the booth. Great special teams play.
Saskatchewan. First down, beginning at the Roughriders 43. So Jones has pretty good field position as he stands in and fires. Holland couldn't hang on. Jamie Holland caught a big one earlier. Couldn't quite grasp that one, and I think catchable.
You know, you got to feel sorry. Here's Jamie Holland down here working on Jefferson, and he just gets right into the perfect hole. You get the guy out in the flat. I mean, this is a well-executed pass pattern. Everybody does the right thing to create that open lane. Look at the lane right there. Except a guy like Holland, he's got to hang on to the football. But for Warren Jones, the scheme was good. The pattern was good. His receivers got to help him out.
Now 2nd and 10, Saskatchewan, and flags down again. The play will be whistled down.
Here you go now, 2nd and long, and this is not what Saskatchewan can make a living at.
It looked like Virgil Robertson jumps offside. Now, I don't know if he was drawn or, according to Warren Jones, he was drawn.
Offside. BC number 96, 5-yard penalty, second down repeated.
So it goes from 2nd and 10 to 2nd and 5.
Well, you get in a big game like this, and both defenses have already done this a couple of times, and I'm not so sure Pete Shorts, the right tackle, didn't flinch a little bit too, but you know, we've seen that about 3 or 4 times already. Guys just trying to get a little jump.
Penalties a big problem for the Lions. You talked about that in the opening, and certainly they weren't going to have a night of penalty-free football league. Jones on 2nd and 5. Robert Mims gets his hands on the football for the first time. And Robert Davis was there. A couple for Mims.
And this is a goal line play that Saskatchewan decided to use out in midfield. Here's Ray Elgart. He just comes in and seals off, and what you want to try and do is get the little bit of pick and get Robert Mims out on the flat. This is a goal line play, but they decided to use it out in midfield to try and get the first down, but BC reacted so quickly, Mims couldn't do anything with it.
Well, one of the problems also was that Robert Davison, the dime guy, was a defensive back covering a running back. They'd rather get the linebacker matchup in that play.
2 and out, Brent Manich in. Standing at his 35. 1 deep for the Lions, it's Eddie Thomas. Manich almost had his first punt block, gets a good one away, chasing Thomas back to the 10. And a 41-yard return last time, and only 6 this time. Solid 49-yard punt for Manich. And the Lions are pinned deep, back near the 15. Danny McManus did not see action last week. He was resting an ailing hand that's bothered him for the past 7 weeks. And likely part of the problem that he's thrown a few too many interceptions. He's 50% for 31 yards so far tonight.
Well, he got Julio Caravetta got the start last week versus Baltimore and did a pretty nice job in relief.
Julio was 16 of 31 for 141 yards in his first CFL start. McManus and the Lions beginning at the 15. Time for McManus. And open is Flutie. It'll be a big first down. BC out at the 41. Flutie pinned by Getz. But there was no one around when he made the catch.
BC's done a pretty good job already analyzing what Saskatchewan's giving them on first down. Terry Shea, the quarterback's coach, upstairs relaying and saying, hey, Danny, you're getting a steady diet of zone on first down, and that means once Darren Flutie clears the linebackers, there's a nice void there. That's the second pass that he's caught, same kind of pattern.
And in order to execute that, you have to have time, and that BC offensive line gave McManus plenty of it.
Flutie has 2 big catches already. The previous one for 25 yards. Markers are down, and here's Philpott trying the right side. No dice this time.
Well, you know, this is a big game, obviously, for both teams, but now you have to kind of analyze. I mean, is this intensity that's making them make these mistakes, or is it just getting sloppy? Now, Koka jumps offside. You know, in my opinion, it's a little bit sloppy right now, and they got to have a little more discipline out there.
Offside. Saskatchewan number 68, 5-yard penalty. That's first down repeated.
Here, Glenn Koka right in there, and you know, you got to watch the ball, see something's making him move, and I don't know if it's McManus's voice because it sure happened too many times here early in the game.
Lions are now 1st and 5 at the 46. Philpott's biggest run of the night. Can he go? Yes, sir. A CFL record for Corey Philpott.
Well, what a way to break it.
64 yards, Glenn. He now has 22 touchdowns on the season and is the all-time leader in that category. He has the first 2 touchdowns for the BC Lions here tonight. 17th rushing touchdown of the season, late. 64 yards.
Sorry, John, you see 41, Gary Rogers going in on the stunt, and that's exactly where Corey Philpott ran the football, where Gary Rogers had left. They caught him in a stunt, worked perfectly. What a flashy way to get your record-breaking touchdown.
I tell you what, it didn't take him long to get to the end zone, did it? Goodness gracious, the burst to get through that hole by Corey Philpott.
Roughriders scored first, but the Lions have answered with back-to-back touchdowns by Corey Philpott. The first over the top from a yard away. The second, a brilliant 64-yard run.
Glenn talked about Gary Rogers coming on the stud. Here he is right here. And when he comes up through here, they hit that crease right out there. And there was just nobody there to run support. You know, the halfback was gone. And, well, there's Philpott. I mean, they didn't even block the outside LeBryant Robinson. He just overran it. And, I tell you, that's some solid 4-3 speed going into the end zone.
Yeah, it's called game speed. You get the ball in your hand, you see that goal line. Corey Philpott's one of the best at it. He takes off.
I think game speed went right by LeBryant Robinson. I mean, he didn't even have time to break down and try and make a tackle. And, this is Saskatchewan's worst fears. They know it's tough coming into BC. It's a tough place to win, even with BC on that losing skid. And now, you got 14-3. Things are tough. There's the record.
Alan Pitts said it last year with 21. And Corey Philpott erases it 1 year later. Ruffin returning for Saskatchewan. The Riders scored first. They need a little field position. Right here, Robert Davis made the tackle. Markers are down as Jones heads out onto the field. His first drive was rather impressive for the field goal, but he really hasn't been able to engineer much since.
Well, I think you look at critical points in the game.
Holding. Saskatchewan number 87 on the run back. It's a 10-yard penalty. It's first down, Saskatchewan.
There goes the field position.
That's the coach's son, old Joey Yock. But, you look at critical points in this game, and I think Saskatchewan's had one right now. The crowd's into it. They're on BC, and, 3 plays, an easy 94-yard touchdown. It's 14-3 for Warren Jones. I mean, there's a tremendous sense of urgency now to all of a sudden kind of slow the momentum of this game down at least.
Roughriders beginning deep in their own zone. Jones looking for Farthing. He has him short of the first down, however, as Kelly Sims makes the tackle. And on the BC bench, Corey Philpott, still all smiles after breaking the CFL record for touchdowns in a season set by Alan Pitts a year ago.
Well, the Lions' outstanding player nominee for 1995, and definitely deserves to be looked at for the category, at least out of the North Division. He's going to be up against Pringle likely in the South.
Yeah, that might be an interesting battle for the Chrysler Awards Grey Cup week. Jones keeps it on the ground. Robert Mims needed a couple. He's got 3, and we'll see where they spot the ball. Saskatchewan needing a first down desperately now. Trailing the Lions, it's 14-3.
Son, had a long time, Dad. It's been a long trip, son. How about throwing me a cold one? Just like old times, huh, Dad? Just like the old days. This isn't a Pepsi. I know. I saved 9 cents. Unbelievable. Kid saved a lousy 9 cents.
Advil, for today's tough pain, presents Profiles of Courage. Matt Dunnigan has always been a tough competitor. He took some big hits in 1991 that caused him shoulder troubles throughout the season. He still managed to lead the Toronto Argos to the Grey Cup, and playing with a separated throwing shoulder, Dunnigan put on an amazing display of grit, quarterbacking the Argos to a 36-21 victory over the Calgary Stampeders. This Profile of Courage was brought to you by Advil for today's tough pain.
In a clinic like this,
Saskatchewan trailing British Columbia 14-3. Roughriders will have a first down as the second quarter gets underway. And the Lions lead the way in the statistics from the opening quarter in every area but time of possession. Net yards 121. Couple of touchdowns by Corey Philpott, and Ray Yock does not want to leave a playoff spot in the North Division up to the Ottawa Roughriders tomorrow afternoon.
I wouldn't think that'd be too good a night. In fact, if they don't win tonight, I don't think Ray's going to sleep too well thinking about tomorrow. And of course, they don't want to win the playoffs that way either. They want to win and have a little momentum. If they happen to win, go down and play in Baltimore.
The other side of that is talking to some of the Baltimore guys last week. They don't want to play Saskatchewan. They played them good 2 games in a row.
Come on.
Oh, no, listen, it was a 4-point win for Baltimore in game 1, and a week later, only a 2-point win.
Please.
Here's Jones. He got hit as he got it away. Farthing made the catch.
Do you honestly
should have 5 yards.
I can't let this one go. Do you honestly think that Baltimore's sitting back there worrying about playing Saskatchewan in the semifinals?
Well, no. Now, I don't think they're worried about playing Saskatchewan, but I think
you.
if they had to choose between Winnipeg and Saskatchewan, and talking to Mike Whitthacombe from Baltimore last week, he said, we're cheering for Winnipeg to get in. We'd rather have that game than the game against Saskatchewan, based on the fact that they just played them twice and were in tough twice.
This is weak.
From the 39, it's 2nd and 5. Jones looking deep. Farthing is there, and he's got the catch. Tom Europe covering on Dan Farthing, and Farthing makes a couple of nice plays back-to-back.
And this is a heck of a job on Kelly Sims. Watch Farthing here. He's going to catch up with Sims. It's the out and up, a little wheel. He gets him to move right there. And to Sims' credit, he recovers nicely. But, you know, Farthing, watch how he positions himself, takes it at its highest point, keeps Kelly Sims away from the football. That's a heck of a catch. And, you know, he wasn't playing early in the year. I thought it was a mistake, and he's made a big contribution in their stretch drive.
1st and 10, Saskatchewan at the BC 38. Riders trying to get back in this one. Mims for a couple.
Just to go back to your thought about Dan Farthing, you know, coming into the season, Prince Wimbley, the third, was the starting slot back. But they felt that Dan Farthing was producing more. Farthing gets the nod. Prince Wimbley's cut.
Well, you know, they hope Wimbley was kind of a big play kind of guy. You know, he had that potential, but it never came through. So, you know, old reliable Dan Farthing's waiting in the wings, and now when he gets his chance, he's been a contributor, and I suspect he's going to stay in that spot for some time.
A little less than 10 on 2nd down. Mims got a bit, but not very much. And a big hit on Jones. Heavy-duty heat from Dave Chaters.
Well, Dave Chaters already has 1 sack tonight, and there you see him coming right up the gut on another pretty serious pass rush. And, you know, Warren Jones hanging in for Elgard, but he just can't wait that long. He has to throw it before the final break with Chaters right in his face.
And Dave Ritchie's calling the defensive signals. You saw 7 guys on the line of scrimmage for BC. He loves to send pressure. That time it was straight man-to-man. Dave Ritchie, because Gene Gaines had to take care of family matters, is calling the defenses.
Paul McCallum will try a 45-yard field goal. He's got it. 2 for 2 tonight. 7 for 7 as a Rough Rider. Saskatchewan gets 3 back. They've still got a long way to go. Dave Ridgway released by the Saskatchewan Roughriders to make room for Paul McCallum on the roster. He is 2nd all-time in points to Lou Pasaglia, and here's McCallum standing on the sidelines, perfect as a Saskatchewan Roughrider. There's his CFL career, hitting on 77.8% in stints with the BC Lions, but 100% in Saskatchewan.
You know, for Paul McCallum, he was on the injured reserve list here in BC, and for some reason they waived him, so he was fair game for anybody. And, you know, Saskatchewan really liked him as a kicker, and they knew if they didn't take him then and bring him on and, you know, activate him, they were going to lose him too, because if they put him on the practice roster, somebody could take him off that. So, you know, they kind of had no choice. They liked him, they wanted to get him.
On 1st down, here's Philpott for a couple. Now, your old pal Dave Ridgway, and our old pal too. I mean, he's sitting out there in Indian Head, and I think you're agonizing with him just a little bit.
Well, there's controversy swirling all over this whole situation, not maybe necessarily on the decision, but the timing of the decision. I mean, everyone knows what Dave Ridgway can do when the chips are down and you're inside the 40. Now, I think Paul McCallum is a super kid with a great future. But you're taking a big gamble, putting a guy you don't know how to react in a pressure situation in there.
So far, it's paying off. And on target, McManus to Flutie. Flutie's had a solid night.
Glenn, you know, you talk about the timing of it, and, you know, yeah, sure, from a PR standpoint, it's not very nice. I mean, Dave Ridgway is the greatest kicker in Saskatchewan history, but you have to keep in mind the BC Lions waived him. He was fair game, and this guy could kick for you now for another 10 years. If Saskatchewan didn't take him when they had the chance, you know, they're going to lose him to somebody else, and you know, that's the way life goes.
On 1st down, it's Philpott again. He's got about 3 yards and a CFL record for the most touchdowns in one season. with 2 touchdowns for the Lions so far tonight. He passed Alan Pitt's record of 21.
And John, already he's over 100 yards rushing for the evening, and there's a direct correlation. When Corey Philpott has a 100-yard rushing game, the BC Lions don't lose very often, so that holds well for them.
He still has a shot at the all-purpose yards total this year. McManus intended it for Flutie.
You know, I said Corey Philpott was over 100. I meant he was getting close to 100. Let me just correct that. He's only at 71 yards right now, but it is important when he's involved running the football. This is a much better BC Lion team.
Well, you saw that last play. Danny McManus trying to air it out. You know, Saskatchewan has mixed it up now so far. They've thrown a little bit of zone defense and also gone with some pressure. That time they had the pressure going. Dale Joseph was in one-on-one coverage, had a blanket on Darren Flutie, and McManus had nowhere to go.
I want to pin you down later about Danny McManus and what he gives to this team as a full-time starting quarterback.
Desaglia's punt taken near the 30, and no yards on Ruffin's return of 5 yards. Just a 30-yard punt for Pasaglia. Jones heads out to try and get the Riders a little closer.
The 3M Filtrete microparticle air filter outperforms all other 1-inch filters by getting more of the small stuff that's in your air out, like more dust particles. It also traps pollen and mold, particles that could irritate your allergies. It even gets animal dander. Try the Filtrete microparticle air filter. It gets more of the small aggravating things in your air out, even smoke. Look for the 3M Filtrete clean air filter wherever you buy furnace or air conditioner filters.
Face it, shaving is a pain. It strips away the skin's moisture, leaving it hot, dry, and burning. But now there's proof you can take the heat out of shaving with Sensitive from Old Spice. It's the one with cooling sensates, an invigorating blast of real refreshment that cools skin scorched by shaving. Prove it to yourself. Try Sensitive from Old Spice. It's more than a great scent. This is a cooling blast of real refreshment that takes the heat out of shaving.
What you're seeing is how you'd be breathing if you'd taken an original extra strong Fisherman's Friend medicated lozenge. Seafaring men have relied on them for over 100 years for relief from coughs and sore throats. Fisherman's Friend original extra strong medicated lozenges can even make nasal passages feel clearer, so you can breathe easier. So for coughs, sore throats, even nasal passages, try Fisherman's Friend medicated lozenges with over 100 years of effectiveness.
Closed caption for tonight's game provided by Apollo Glass, guaranteed the pick of the crop from coast to coast. And we hope you're enjoying this from coast to coast in Canada tonight. Saskatchewan Roughriders battling for a playoff spot against the BC Lions.
How would you like to run into that guy in a dark alley?
No.
LeBrant Robinson. Whoa, he's a scary looking one.
I wouldn't want to run into him on a football field, let alone a dark alley. You kidding me? I'm smarter than that.
Saskatchewan first down, and Jones with flags flying, look for Don Narcisse. Well, it must be October. It's Sven's birthday again. We have to wish your pop a happy birthday tonight.
Yeah, it seems like always the night before I'm somewhere, and my father's birthday is tomorrow,
Holding. Saskatchewan number 57, 10-yard penalty, first down repeated.
I'd like to take this chance because I won't be back in Toronto tomorrow to wish my dad a happy birthday on October 29th.
Happy birthday, Sven. 7th penalty of the ball game against the Saskatchewan Roughriders. First and 20, Saskatchewan at the 24. Narcisse makes the catch, can't get away. Slanting in, well read by the BC defense. Robert Davis was there for the initial tackle.
And Glenn, you talked earlier about the dime back Robert Davis being in the game, and with that kind of package, that extra defensive back, this play is a lot more difficult to run. He's just not accounted for back there in the blocking scheme. You know, they're looking to block 5 defensive backs or at least 2 on that one side, and you get the extra guy in there, and it's messing that play up.
Don Narcisse, in the midst of his best season in the Canadian Football League, has been named Saskatchewan's outstanding offensive player. Jones on second and a bunch, and another marker goes down. Who's counting the penalties tonight? There have been quite a few. This time procedure going against Saskatchewan, back-to-back penalties.
Believe it or not.
Illegal procedure. Saskatchewan number 63. It's a 5-yard penalty. Second down repeated.
Believe it or not, BC's the most penalized team in the league. Saskatchewan, the second most penalized team. And you know what? They both improved over last year.
How can you believe that?
And there's still too many penalties from both teams.
And you know what bothers me, Glenn, is the fact that these are not roughing penalties. I mean, these are mental mistakes. There's nothing more than that, and it's discipline, and they're showing a true lack of it right now.
Second and a whole bunch as Jones looks for Holland. He's got it. A marker down. Did Holland push off, or was it the coverage by Thomas?
I think Eddie Thomas has given you a pretty good indication of which way this one's going to go. It's clearly coming back.
Well, you know, I've seen Ray Elgaard get away with this for year after year after year, but not so for Jamie Holland. It's definitely a push in the back, and refs caught him.
Offensive forward pass interference. Saskatchewan number 8. Second down repeated.
It could have been 40 yards.
Well, clearly Jamie Holland got the left arm up on Eddie Thomas, and as Thomas tried to make his play to the football, you'll see clearly that there is a push-off by Holland right there. And, hey, you know, why not? You know, sometimes you get away with that. He took a chance. The officials happened to catch it.
Oh, absolutely. And the other good part about that play for Eddie Thomas was that he looked back to the football right there. He's looking over his shoulder. And as long as you're doing that as a defensive back, you won't get called for screening.
What have you got in the playbook for 2nd and 34?
Punt.
At your own 10.
Quick kick.
Not a bad thought. Here comes the heat on Jones. He escapes, throwing on the run for Narcisse. He makes the catch. No, he doesn't. Thomas again.
Yeah, Eddie Thomas was last week's special team player of the game for the BC Lions. He almost ran back kicks with Chris Wright from Baltimore. He's had a quietly very successful 95 season with 4 interceptions. And watch him close at the last second, and time has jumped perfectly to get that football out.
You know, Glenn, I had the feeling there that Eddie Thomas was kind of baiting Warren Jones, laying off just enough, saying, come on, throw it, because I know I'm going to be able to close the gap and make the play. And I felt like he was saying to Jones, come on, I dare you.
Thomas will be in the spotlight again, ready to return for the Lions, with Matic standing about 5 yards into his end zone. Thomas near the 50. Big return earlier. Lions come up with great field position near the Saskatchewan 35 on a 12-yard return that time. Leading the Roughrider tacklers, Dan Rasevich. A couple of ex-Saskatchewan Roughriders in the booth tonight. We'll be there for TSN Grey Cup Radio. Glenn Suter, Lee Pedersen, myself from Regina. That is going to be a lot of fun to do a Grey Cup game in the ballpark you guys used to play in.
Well, if I wasn't working at the game, I'd sure be there for Grey Cup week. I think it's going to be a super whole situation to have a great celebration in Regina.
McManus on first down, looking for Gordon. Yes! His 4th touchdown reception of the season, a 36-yarder from Danny McManus.
Well, it starts out, McManus has just enough time to get rid of that football, takes a 3-step drop, and just let Robert Gordon run under the catch.
I mean, that is a heck of a throw. Danny Mac really aired that baby out. Robert Gordon flew by Brian Randall like he was standing still, and all of a sudden, in a short period of time, the BC Lions have taken this game totally into their control.
Lions are scoring touchdowns. The Roughriders have only managed field goals. Robert Gordon, 48th catch of the season, goes for a touchdown. It's 21-6, BC. Football League last week, Julio Caravana was the starting quarterback for the BC Lions. Tonight he's kicking off.
This week he's kicking off, and you know, last week when he did start at quarterback, they didn't put him on the kickoff team because they didn't want to get him hurt.
Now those guys from SFU, they're versatile, aren't they? Saskatchewan's Aaron Ruffin away from the first wave. He's out near the 37. And Warren Jones has to crank it up for the Saskatchewan Roughriders. Will he get the chance? Jones on the sidelines. Tom Burgess is in to try and get the Riders back in this game with a playoff spot on the line. Yak told me that he wouldn't hesitate to make a change, and he's done so earlier than he did last time. Burgess hitting on 52% of his passes from the shotgun on first down, looking deep, looking for Holland. He's got it on the dead run. Big play. The Roughriders down to the 25. Holland got the better of Eddie Thomas that time.
And although Eddie Thomas has made some big plays in this half, it's been Eddie Thomas that the Roughriders have really tried to pick on. And this time, you know, you have to think this was premeditated by Tom Burgess. He comes off the bench and, you know, first play, he's just going deep, and, you know, he knows he's got to get his team back into this one in a hurry.
Well, I think he knew Jamie Holland had Eddie Thomas on the first play, just pushed off and got the penalty, so he went right back at it.
A 47-yard reception for Jamie Holland. Saskatchewan set up at the BC 26. Burgess looking to the far side. He has Farthing. Farthing dives for a first down. Can't get around Kelly Sims. And he comes up a little bit short.
Isn't that funny how, you know, sometimes you make that quarterbacking switch, and Warren Jones definitely was struggling, but, you know, Tom Burgess has come into the game with a real idea of what he wants to do out there. He got the good matchup with Holland, felt like he could get over the top quickly. Now made the right read and picked out the guy with Dan Farthing out there, and, you know, all of a sudden, you know, he's got Saskatchewan back in a good position, but it's just that little change of momentum by changing the quarterback.
Burgess looks at 2nd and 1 at the BC 17. Lost the ball, and he got it back. He may have the first down by himself.
Now I don't think that was a design play.
You don't play that the one hop off the turf and dive underneath?
One bounce and then dive forward for the first down? I don't think so.
Well,
It fooled him.
that tells me that, you know, Tom Burgess is 2 for 2. He gets the right bounce to pick up the first down. Tells me like maybe, you know, luck is on his side tonight a little bit.
Maybe he's the quarterback on the roll with the hot hand. You're right.
Just short. Don Narcisse is the only perfect passer on the Saskatchewan Roughriders this year. He's 2 for 2, and one went for a touchdown. 100%.
That's not bad. Maybe he should be taking snaps.
You know, fellas, I know one thing about Tom Burgess. I mean, when he gets hot, he can be really hot. Now, he can go south in a hurry on you and throw a lot of interceptions, but this is a guy that can get on a roll, and maybe he'll do that.
He needed inches. No markers down. Saskatchewan will have the first down. Jones on the sidelines after starting for the 4th straight week.
You know, it also gives defense something else to think about. You know, preparing all week, they prepared for Warren Jones and his scrambling ability. Now they're going to see the pocket passer in Tom Burgess. Maybe they have to switch things up defensively a little bit, change the scheme. They know where Tom's going to be.
Well, I think if I'm Dave Ritchie and I know Burgess is going to be in the pocket, I turn the heat up a little bit.
At the Lions 15, Robert Mims cutting inside, drags 2 Lions down to the 10. Mims was injured last week and didn't suit up for Saskatchewan against Calgary.
He's wearing a good number.
They didn't retire 27. I forgot about that.
I'll tell you what, I thought that you had lots of respect when you played out there, but obviously I was wrong. I mean, you're not even out of there 6 months, and some other guy's wearing your number.
It's not that they should retire it, but they should at least give you 6 weeks.
You know what? They gave him the jersey before I was out of the locker room, I think.
2nd and 5. Burgess, end zone toss. He's got the touchdown. Dan Farthing, 5th touchdown catch of the year. He beat Kelly Sims.
Well, they went back to that formation where you spread everybody out. Mims the only back in the backfield. Tom Europe had to cover the fullback Boyko. That left the middle open, and Dan Farthing does a super job to get inside of Kelly Sims and beat him to the ball.
Yeah, what happened, Sims, when he knows he's vulnerable to the post, he didn't wall Farthing off. Farthing got position, and hey, how about Tommy Burgess? I mean, whoa, he comes in off the bench, he's got the hot hand, I don't think he's missed a pass on that drive, and he gets Saskatchewan right back into this, and they're going to go for 2 points.
Big play was to Jamie Holland. 3 of 3 for 66 yards and the touchdown. Burgess has the Riders back, and he looks for 2 more here. Perfect.
Oh, my. And that's good coaching, because the single point meant nothing. That's good coaching by Ray Yakin. Boy, oh boy, does he look like a genius now that Tom Burgess has got this team back into this game.
And talk about execution. Tom Burgess looked off the entire defense and looked back at the very last second. You get a good shot. Watch Burgess's head. He's looking to the right the whole play, and then last second, bang, right back over to Dan Farthing, who's stuck across the middle.
Dan Farthing. 5th touchdown catch of the season. Tom Burgess has tossed another touchdown.
Well, Tom Burgess comes in hot as a pistol, would go back to the touchdown, and this is the open area we talked about it. You know, here's Dan Farthing up there. He gets the position on Kelly Sims, and Burgess looking wide side to the trip side, and then again looks off to the front side, comes backside, and hits Farthing on the touchdown. Then he did the same thing on the 2-pointer. He looked strong side, and, you know, Kevin came back to Farthing again, and, you know, in a matter of minutes, Farthing's got 8 points. And Saskatchewan's back in the ballgame.
And at a crucial time. You talked about it earlier, Leaf. They needed that drive to stay in this football game.
A touchdown between these 2 teams now. Kickoff coming down to Thomas. And he had nowhere to go. His way was blocked by Errol Brown, number 3. And Farthing. A touchdown and a 2-pointer.
And what Dan Farthing's thinking on that touchdown is, boy, I got to get inside any way I can. I give him the little head fake outside, but, you know, my area is wide open in the middle. I just got to make sure I can get there. And, you know, talk about Tom Burgess with the hot head. I said this guy can get hot, and he was perfect on that drive.
73 yards on the drive. The Lions have scored with big plays. Saskatchewan has had to march upfield for all the points they've been able to get all night.
Old momentum has just taken another switch.
Is Mo in the building?
Mo is in the building tonight.
Paul Blackwood, 5 yards. He averages 2.8 running the football for the Lions. Better than double that time. Saskatchewan Roughriders driving for a touchdown to make it a ball game once more. It's 21-14 BC. We had a phone poll on CFL Live out of Toronto last night. Here's a quick look at some of the results. Should the CFL make any rule changes to make the game more like U.S. football? A resounding no, 91%. And about the import ratio, what did you think of this, Glenn? 53-47. Change is coming, I guess.
Well, I think it may have to. I mean, it may have to be lowered a little bit. I'd like to see the ratio stay in place.
And American teams. Should American teams remain in the CFL? 70% yes, 30% no.
Yeah, you know, I think the curiosity factor for the American teams coming to the Canadian cities has really been good, and certainly the fans indicated that they felt that way too. This next question was a tough one, though, wasn't it?
Until the year 2000, do you think this league can survive? Obviously, a football audience watching last night, 89% say yes. We wonder where 89% of those fans are in some ballpark sometime in Canada.
It'd be nice to see them up, but, you know, it is up. Attendance is up in all the Canadian cities, so it's on the upswing, I think.
Save Toronto.
And we may have a job for a few more years. Staying that way.
And he was on target, but Philpott is stopped short. No gain. Good tackle here.
Well, you know what you want to do, and nobody knows this better than my buddy here, Glenn Suter, is that defense is once you've scored a touchdown, you want to come out and shut the other team down. Saskatchewan able to do that. Nice tackle by Terrell Homer, keeps Philpott short, and, you know, all of a sudden you get Burgess, who was 4 for 4 on the last drive, and a little over 2 minutes to go, and they're going to get the ball back.
Pasaglia standing at his 25-yard line.
I mean, did you talk about in the huddle, Glenn, like, hey, guys, 2 and out right here. Offense is going good, 2 and out.
Oh, absolutely. First of all, you get the lift when your offense just scores. You come in, you say, hey, we stop them. We got this game.
High punt. Ruffin calls for it. Stumbles for about 5, maybe 6 on the return. Saw a little penalty marker in there.
CFL Live, brought to you in part by 3M Canada, imagining the unthinkable and developing the unknown. That's 3M Innovation at work.
BC Lions had a big lead just moments ago. Tom Burgess came in and engineered a solid 66-yard drive.
You know, I need to go back to that Canadian ratio issue just one more time real quickly, because a lot of people around the, listening to this are going to say, wait a minute, Glenn just said they should lower it a little bit. And as a player, of course, I was saying that it should stay intact as it is. But looking at it once I got away from the game and some of the problems, see David Pitcher getting attended to by Ivan Gutfrin. But one of the problems in the ratio is the injury situation. And when a good Canadian gets hurt, you got to go to that backup Canadian. They're awfully hard to find.
Well, usually they're guys that don't have a lot of experience, because they've been around for a long time. They're either a starter or they're not playing anymore. So, you do make a valid point. And I think in time, now the big if, too, is if we remain with, 5 American teams that it is right now, then, you're going to have those inadequacies. And I think the import ratio will drop, and probably logically will drop. But as the coaches and everybody says, hey, let's kind of wait and see what's going to be in the mix for 1996 before we get too hasty with all this stuff.
That's really what it has to be, some kind of a mix, because I don't think you could mess around with the flavor of the game that the athletes bring from Guelph and Laurier and SFU and UBC, University of Calgary, when they come to this game and know what it's all about. I mean, that is really something that makes it distinctive. And a guy like this guy, 72 right here, pretty good example.
Well, there's no question that Canadians can compete in this league. Now, you need the ratio, in my opinion, at least part of the ratio intact, so that teams will go out and recruit good Canadians like that. Without the ratio, I don't think they spend the money going to the Guelphs and the University of Calgary.
Saskatchewan with a first down at the 20 as play resumes at BC Place. Robert Mims finds a pretty nice hole. Caught by Quarles from behind, number 31. A 7-yard gain. Dave Ritchie trying to get the BC Lions back on a winning track. His team has lost 5 in a row. He had a nice lead a couple of moments ago. The Lions have put the points on the board so far tonight with big plays. On second down, Burgess has a target, and he has a first down. Don Narcisse again. Saskatchewan moves the sticks.
Yeah, Tom Burgess definitely got control of this offense, but from standing on the sideline has seen what the BC Lion defense has done, and he's attacking it, making the right reads, and delivering the football.
Well, when Eddie Thomas was up in bump and run, he went over the top, and when he backed off, he threw the quick out to Narcisse. So you're right, he is pretty comfortable and has a solid idea of what he wants to do.
First down, Saskatchewan. Burgess looking deep for Narcisse, missed him by about 6 inches.
Yeah, there was that bump and run again. He took one look out there, and Narcisse and Eddie Thomas bump and run. So, hey, you know what's coming. I think everybody in the park knows what's coming now. It's a simple equation. Bump and run, you go over the top.
First incompletion by Burgess. He didn't miss by much.
No, he didn't. John Narcisse was able to get away from the jam there and almost made the catch. And, Tommy knew he had one there if he could have just got it into him.
Almost second and 10. Saskatchewan, 35-yard line. Burgess right back to the pass. Holland couldn't hang on. Coverage by Jefferson. Are you throwing a flag over there, Sooner?
I don't know.
I bet you threw your flag.
Looked awful close. James Jefferson broke on the football as Holland was running that in curl route, and it looked like to me he gave him a bump a little early, but no flag. First time I've ever sided with the receiver and not the defensive back.
I'm sitting here in disbelief of what I'm hearing. See, we can convert you defensive guys. You know where all the action is. It's offense.
Thomas is deep. Managed standing at his 22 for Saskatchewan. A minute 24 to go, first half at BC Place. Bouncing near the 45, and there'll be no return for Thomas that time. Advantage World Curling Tour continues on TSN. tomorrow afternoon, 4 o'clock Eastern Time, from the Highland Country Club in London. Join Vic and Linda and Ray for expert color commentary and a curling season underway for I guess this is really 1996 curling season.
Yeah, you know, it's 1995, but it's kind of 1996. It's one of those things, you know, it's like you got to turn the clocks back tonight. It's 1996 and curling, all kinds of stuff going on.
Numbers on Danny McManus, 104 yards, 6 of 9. We mentioned he didn't play last week. Corey Philpott out across the 45, or out across the 40-yard line, I should say. Philpott with 2 touchdowns already to set the CFL single season record with 22. 7 carries, 75 yards for Philpott lead, so he's closing in on his 100.
Yeah, if he gets it, you know, obviously that's good. Jim Mills back, you know, he was with the Ottawa Roughriders in a car accident in the offseason, and his rights were traded to the BC Lions, but with the club for 5 weeks, activated for tonight's game, but not playing at this time.
He was actually a starter tonight and got to see a little action last week when Vic Stevenson went down. McManus well behind his intended target. He was looking for Robert Gordon.
You know, earlier, Glenn, I wanted to ask you about Danny McManus since you played against him for so many years. And, you know, some people felt like, you know, it's going to be a tough year for Danny having to start every game. In fact, he hasn't started every game. But, you know, how did you feel as a player about Danny McManus's abilities?
Oh, Danny McManus is a very smart quarterback, so you have to give him a lot of looks. He knows how to read the defense. He always is watching the free safety. Free safety leaves the middle. He makes the read and goes right there. He's very smart. You have to disguise things against him.
How'd you feel about his arm? Because I know some DBs feel like they can bait him a little bit, and his arm's not strong enough, and they can get the picks on him.
Well, I think he's one of those timing guys. He'll throw the ball before the receiver makes his break and time it up, and doesn't have to rely on arm strength that much.
Pasaglia has to move out of the pocket to get this one away. There's a marker down in the BC backfield as Ruffin picks it up near the 35 and weaves his way for about 3 yards on the return. 34-yard Lou Pasaglia punt. 34 seconds till halftime. We'll have one more penalty assessed here.
Holding, BC number 19, 10-yard penalty, 3rd down repeated.
Paul Blackwood.
You know, it's funny, I remember talking to Dave Ritchie about all the penalties, you know, and he kind of said, well, you know, it's the character of the BC Lions. They led the league last year, they led the league this year. There you see Blackwood to the right of your screen, and, you know, he had to put the hook or else his kicker, Lou Pasaglia, was going to be in trouble, but you know, I think it's one thing to say that penalties are the character of our team, but I think penalties have really hurt this team, and they have to take a hard look at it because so many of them seem to be like stupid penalties.
Well, Dave Ritchie doesn't mind the aggressive penalties. He doesn't like the dead ball fouls, and they have to look at it. It could cost them a ball game, and down this playoff stretch, that would be crucial.
Pasaglia gets a better one away this time. Ruffin near the 45. And automatically better field position for Saskatchewan with a 6-yard return. 24 seconds till the half, and time for Burgess to get a little closer to that BC end zone.
There's actually an interesting story about those penalties with Dave Ritchie. He has a $99 fine for penalties that happen after the fact. Dead ball fouls, he calls them. The reason they're $99 is so he doesn't have to send the money to the league. He keep it among the team and hand it out to the staff.
I'll tell you what, they should have a pretty good pool then.
The staff gets paid a lot of extra dough.
Tom Burgess has taken over at quarterback for Saskatchewan. Engineered 1 touchdown. And he fired it just a little bit too high. Look for Rick Walters that time.
May have been a good thing for Ricky Walters that ball went incomplete because Henry Newby was bearing down on him from his linebacker position, and I've seen Henry Newby this year put on some tremendous hits. I remember one against Doug Flutie that took him about another 3 series to get back from. Henry Newby can bring it.
Burgess was 5 for 5 at one stage with a touchdown and the 2-point conversion. He's missed his last 3. This is 2nd and 10, 19 seconds till the half. Under the cover, Walters makes the catch this time, and he's surrounded. He really had nowhere to go.
That was your old buddy Henry Newby again coming up to make the play, and kind of a crucial tackle here. You know, any more yardage, and they're slowly getting into Paul McCallum field goal range. But Henry Newby, as Glenn said, one of the better tacklers in the league, rather, and he makes the play on Ricky Walters there. He doesn't even come close to that first down.
Well, last year he was the Lions nominee for the Rookie of the Year in the CFL, and you know, a lot of times he'll bring it. He's a big hitter from the linebacker position, but on that play he did a nice job of just breaking down and waiting for his help to come and getting the ball carrier on the ground.
Well, I think you look at Dave Ritchie's defense, and you know, obviously the focal point on the defense are those linebackers. They dress 7 linebackers, and in fact 8 linebackers some nights, and 8 tonight. And you know, all of them are interchangeable. Brian Ford can come in and play. Keith Costello, Ty Chapman's not playing tonight. He's out with an appendix that happened today. There's Shelton Quarles, one of their bright young rookies, but boy, certainly linebackers is the focal point of this defense.
Yeah, Shelton Quarles, this year's nominee for the Lions for Rookie of the Year. Where do they find him?
Boy, he had a hit on Anthony Cavillo in a Hamilton game we did here, and I was surprised Cavillo got up from that one.
Managed soft and low. Thomas takes it on the run with time running out. Now 4 seconds till halftime. Dwayne Provo, number 1.
Well, I tell you,
on the tackle for Saskatchewan.
Thomas just saved about 20 yards of field position by catching that ball in the air.
Thomas has had a very active first half.
They've been going after him.
He won a couple of battles early and then lost one.
He actually holds the longest kickoff return of the year, 98 yards against the Ottawa Roughriders, and like we said last week, was the special teams player of the game for the Lions.
McManus has 3 seconds to take off the clock and take his team to the dressing room with a 7-point lead at halftime. And that'll be it. Rather entertaining first half of football. Saskatchewan Roughriders gunning for a spot in the playoffs. And the BC Lions trying to regain lost momentum after 5 straight losses. A touchdown between these two as we send you to Darren Detition for the CFL halftime report for McDonald's.
McDonald's halftime, presented by your local McDonald's restaurant. Here's Darren Detition.
Welcome to McDonald's halftime. We're glad you're sticking around and joining us tonight for what is turning out to be a fantastic football game. It really has been a good contest thus far. You know, the Saskatchewan Roughriders are fighting for their playoff lives. The BC Lions, though, they already know their playoff fate. Just like last year, they're going to have to go on the road, and they're going to have to go into Commonwealth Stadium and face the Edmonton Eskimos in the first round. In 2 games this year versus the Eskimos, the BC Lions have lost both games. Right now, the Eskimos, arguably the hottest team in the CFL, they're looking to avenge last year's semifinal loss to the Grey Cup champion Lions. Meanwhile, the other semifinal matchup has the Calgary Stampeders home to the Hamilton Ticats. Now, due to a scheduling anomaly, these two teams have not played each other this season. So, their first meeting of the year will be in a playoff life-or-death scenario. In the South, San Antonio will meet Birmingham in the first round, but we don't know who will host it. Tomorrow they will play in Texas. The winner starts the playoffs at home, while Baltimore will either take on the Saskatchewan Roughriders or the Winnipeg Blue Bombers in the other semifinal. Joining us now live from BC Place is the general manager of the Saskatchewan Roughriders, Alan Ford. Alan, we appreciate you taking the time and joining us tonight. Obviously, it was a tough defensive start for your club early on in this football game.
Yeah, it was, Darren. I certainly liked after we changed quarterbacks, Tom seemed to inject a lot of life into our offense, and I was pleased with certainly the second quarter, the way we played. You know, they caught us a couple times running seam routes when we're sitting back in zone, and then the long pass right into the second quarter for the touchdown. So, you know, I like the way we battled back, and we're only a touchdown down going into the second half.
Exactly. How difficult was it for you last night, knowing that your team, if they win this football game, they advance to the postseason? If not, you need some help from the Ottawa Roughriders.
Well, all week long, we've known that it's in our own hands, and we don't want to wait till tomorrow. The players want to win tonight and not have to worry about somebody else putting us in the playoffs. So that was our focus all week, and that's going to be certainly in the second half.
Let's talk a little bit about the postseason, going to Baltimore. If you guys do, in fact, advance, you gave the Stallions quite a scare a couple of weeks ago. You had two very, very competitive games with them.
Yeah, our defense played very, very well in Baltimore, and certainly we played very well as a team in Taylor Field. We just didn't make some big plays, and in both cases, a field goal beat us right at the end. So certainly we're looking forward if we do get that chance to going into Baltimore. But, you know, as I said, all week, our focus has been on the BC Lions and winning the game ourselves to put ourselves in the playoffs.
Well, good luck in the second half. We appreciate you taking the time. It's been a pleasure talking to you. I look forward to seeing you in Regina for Grey Cup.
Thanks a lot, Darren. It's going to be a great time at Grey Cup.
Yeah, is it ever. Thanks once again. Al Ford, the general manager of the Saskatchewan Roughriders, joining us live from BC Place. What we're going to do is we're going to take a short break. When we come back, up next, some bone-crunching hits. We leave you with another look at those individuals who have excelled in the CFL, the nominees for the year-end award. Stay tuned.
The 3M Filtrete microparticle air filter outperforms all other 1-inch filters by getting more of the small stuff that's in your air out, like more dust particles. It also traps pollen and mold, particles that could irritate your allergies. It even gets animal dander. Try the Filtrete microparticle air filter. It gets more of the small aggravating things in your air out, even smoke. Look for the 3M Filtrete clean air filter wherever you buy furnace or air conditioner filters.
I'm sneezing. My head's stuffed. I'm coughing. I ache all over. I gotta get some sleep. I'm teaching a big class tomorrow.
I've got something to take care of you.
But I gotta sleep.
That's why I've got NyQuil.
NyQuil relieves stuffy heads like cold capsules, coughs like a cough medicine, and aches and pains like a pain reliever.
Now you'll get the sleep you need.
NyQuil, the nighttime sniffling, sneezing, coughing, aching, stuffy head fever so you can sleep medicine.
A century of battle is your collector's tape, covering over 100 incredible years of CFL history. This is one tape to keep for all time. The first 5,000 orders will also receive the 95 limited edition Grey Cup souvenir program free. A century of battle also includes this year's crushing hits, touchdowns and key plays, plus dressing room and game highlights of the 95 Grey Cup. After a century, will the Grey Cup fall into American hands? To own this collector's tape, call 1-800-636-4CFL.
Welcome back to McDonald's Halftime. Tonight is the 44th game that we have brought you on the CFL Live, and during the course of the season, we've seen some remarkable accomplishments, comebacks, plays, and of course, hits. Okay, we're going to take ourselves another break. Up next, we'll review our game story. Gord, Leaf, and John will also give us their first half thoughts. Stay tuned. McDonald's Halftime continues in a few moments.
Roughriders in 1961 and became part of a dominant offensive unit which led the way for the CFL's all-time leading rusher George Reed. From 1965 through 1970, he was voted All-Western and All-Canadian and was honored with the Shenley Award as the CFL's most outstanding lineman in 1968. You can see more on Ernest and other CFL legends at the Canadian Football Hall of Fame in Hamilton. McDonald's Halftime, brought to you by your local McDonald's restaurant.
Welcome back to McDonald's Halftime. The story of the first half, Corey Philpott in the first quarter. He sets a new standard in the Canadian Football League for touchdowns scored. He now has 22 on the season. Jones is out. Burgess is in. He got him moving in the second quarter. They score 11 points. Dan Farthing, a big part of that as well, with his 5th touchdown of the season. Tough start for the Saskatchewan Roughriders, but hey, guys, they're only down by a TD. Let's go back to BC Place.
Only a touchdown separating these two, as you say, Darren. And the Saskatchewan Roughriders, I thought, looked a little lethargic at times, at least until they went to Burgess. Jones moved the team once for a field goal, but they weren't really in it.
Yeah, well, John, it could have got ugly early for the Saskatchewan Roughriders because they really weren't doing anything offensively until Tom Burgess came in the football game. He saw things on the sideline, and he came out and executed the offense.
Well, let's face it, fellas. He saved the game for us because it was 21-6. It looked like BC was going to walk away with it, and all of a sudden, Tommy Burgess comes in, and we talked about it. This guy can get hot. He got hot at the right time. We've got a pretty good game.
Saskatchewan Roughriders not leading on the scoreboard, but in time of possession and first down. So we look forward to a solid second.
Welcome back to McDonald's Halftime. Tonight is the 44th game that we have brought you on the CFL Live, and during the course of the season, we've seen some remarkable accomplishments, comebacks, plays, and of course, hits. Okay, we're going to take ourselves another break. Up next, we'll review our game story. Gord, Leaf, and John will also give us their first half thoughts. Stay tuned. McDonald's Halftime continues in a few moments.
Roughriders in 1961 and became part of a dominant offensive unit which led the way for the CFL's all-time leading rusher George Reed. From 1965 through 1970, he was voted All-Western and All-Canadian and was honored with the Shenley Award as the CFL's most outstanding lineman in 1968. You can see more on Ernest and other CFL legends at the Canadian Football Hall of Fame in Hamilton. McDonald's Halftime, brought to you by your local McDonald's restaurant.
Welcome back to McDonald's Halftime. The story of the first half, Corey Philpott in the first quarter. He sets a new standard in the Canadian Football League for touchdowns scored. He now has 22 on the season. Jones is out. Burgess is in. He got him moving in the second quarter. They score 11 points. Dan Farthing, a big part of that as well, with his 5th touchdown of the season. Tough start for the Saskatchewan Roughriders, but hey, guys, they're only down by a TD. Let's go back to BC Place.
Only a touchdown separating these two, as you say, Darren. And the Saskatchewan Roughriders, I thought, looked a little lethargic at times, at least until they went to Burgess. Jones moved the team once for a field goal, but they weren't really in it.
Yeah, well, John, it could have got ugly early for the Saskatchewan Roughriders because they really weren't doing anything offensively until Tom Burgess came in the football game. He saw things on the sideline, and he came out and executed the offense.
Well, let's face it, fellas. He saved the game for us because it was 21-6. It looked like BC was going to walk away with it, and all of a sudden, Tommy Burgess comes in, and we talked about it. This guy can get hot. He got hot at the right time. We've got a pretty good game.
Saskatchewan Roughriders not leading on the scoreboard, but in time of possession and first down. So we look forward to a solid second half at BC Place with a touchdown between these two on the final night of the regular season. Darren?
Hey, thank you very much, guys. Hey, Leaf, by the way, I agree with Glenn. Saskatchewan could scare Baltimore. We'll take a short break. They're down by a touchdown. We'll see what happens in the second half. Stay tuned.
It seems ironic that trucks so diligently engineered to be quiet would have so much volume. Dodge Ram and Dodge Ram Club Cab, the roomiest pickups on the road. Dodge. Canada's truck stop.
It's one thing to claim that there's nothing more reliable than Advantage 800 service. That over 99.99% of all calls on our long-distance network get delivered to their destinations. But what does that really mean to you and your business? Well, it means that the only way you're likely to miss a call is if you don't answer it. Advantage 800. Everything in business should be this reliable.
Welcome back to McDonald's Halftime. Very busy night in the world of sports. The Atlanta Braves, they had never won the World Series. Tonight, with a victory at home, they would finally quench their thirst for baseball's ultimate prize, and they come up with the win. 1-0 as they shut out the Tribe. Tom Glavine pitched a fantastic baseball game. He was the World Series MVP. On to the National Hockey League. Florida over Ottawa by a count of 4-1. The loss snaps the Sens' 3-game winning streak. Montreal over Chicago 5-3. Break up the Habs. They're now 5-0 since Mario Tremblay took over the team. Los Angeles and Toronto skate to a 2-2 draw tonight. Dallas over San Jose by a count of 4-3. Boston shuts out Hartford 3-0. Adam Oates suffered a knee injury in the first period, did not return. No idea on his condition at this point in time. Philadelphia and the Islanders, a 5-5 draw. That's not in the second. It is now a final. The Isles are off to their worst start in franchise history. Pittsburgh over Jersey 5-3. Mario Lemieux with the hat trick, his second consecutive. He's now got 9 goals on the season. Washington defeats Tampa Bay 4-2. Washington now 6-0 in Tampa Bay. And finally tonight, Winnipeg and Vancouver, just across the street from BC Place. It's GM Place. The Canucks and Jets tied up at 1. Let's get back to some football.
And GM Place located just about 150 yards out the back door from BC Place. As you look at the stats from halftime here tonight, Saskatchewan leading in first downs, a key area. Time of possession almost double, Glenn, when you look at that. And the Riders are down by a touchdown.
That's the Tom Burgess factor right there.
Yeah, I think the one key, too. Look at this one. We talked in the opening that if the BC Lions could have a clean kind of game, you know, they'd have a good chance to win. Well, no turnovers for them. That's good. But I'll tell you, you look over at only 17 yards rushing for Saskatchewan. Now, I don't think they're going to beat BC with the run, but at some point in time, they've got to get a little more than 17.
Corey
He
Philpott
can get you more than 17.
Yeah, absolutely. 64 yards on one touchdown run. His other touchdown was from a yard out. 7 carries for 75 yards for Corey Philpott in the opening half, and also the CFL record for touchdowns in the season. He has 22.
You know, guys, sometimes we lose fact that Sean Millington was out for the season with the knee injury, so the load on Philpott's even more crucial.
Ruffin has problems with the opening kickoff in the second half. And he stopped inside the 20-yard line at about the 19. Burgess trotting out again, hitting on 52% of his passes this season. Interceptions have been a problem for Tom Burgess. He threw 11 compared to 6 touchdowns coming into tonight's game, but he has 1 touchdown toss here tonight.
That really has plagued him his whole career. A guy that has always thrown more interceptions than touchdowns. A guy very willing to put the ball up and hope his receivers can make the play. But tonight, it hasn't been a problem, and he had a solid second quarter.
Yeah, you talked about how he can get hot. Well, 5,000 yards in 93. Yeah, he can get it done.
Robert Mims jumps across a couple of BC Lions before he's corralled by Henry Newby. Call it a 5-yard gain.
Get a good shot at Henry Newby from the linebacker position. Watch him focus in, make sure he's patient enough, and then come up and fill the hole and lower the boom on Robert Mims right as he hits that line of scrimmage. Boy, he is a load. Henry Newby weighing in at 6'2", 230.
Burgess looks at 2nd and 5 and looks deep far side. Narcisse! What a catch! Jefferson covering Narcisse. What a year he's having.
You see James Jefferson complaining about the push-off, and there was a real subtle push-off by Donald Narcisse, but he judged the ball perfectly, timed it perfectly, and went up and kind of took one away from James Jefferson. And, you know, if Saskatchewan's going to win this game, they're going to have their big players making big plays, and they start the third quarter off that way.
Well, Don Narcisse is never going to be the type of receiver to run away from you, but I tell you what, he's great hands.
He got away with the push.
Here's Burgess looking for Holland. Coverage by Thomas.
Thomas did a nice job there. He switched things up and got to the outside shoulder of Jamie Holland. Now, he's been playing inside technique. That's why he's been victimized a couple of times deep. But that time he switched it up, got on the outside shoulder, and had perfect coverage.
You think these guys are keeping count tonight, Thomas and Holland? They're having an interesting chat heading back to the huddle down there. Thomas saying that's 1 for me.
And here comes Holland saying, yeah, but the game's far from over.
2nd and 10. Riders at the 54. Burgess far side, and he missed Narcisse. Looked like a mix-up. Well, there was a little pressure from Benefield, too.
This is the BC Lions sack leader coming into this game with 12, and had to miss last week with an injury problem, but not a better pure pass rusher in the league than David Benefeld, and you see him getting in on Tom Burgess late there.
You look at the kind of year Benefield's had. In his first 3 years, he had 17 sacks total. Now he adds 12 to those 17, so you can put that in perspective what kind of year his 4th year in the league has been.
Pretty even amongst the kickers so far tonight. Thomas has had a couple of solid returns. Matic can't get him away. Charles Gordon celebrating.
The Lions nominee for outstanding defensive player. We saw him have a huge interception for against the Baltimore Stallions last week, just before the half, and comes up with the big tackle on Brett Matic. He came in there untouched, it looked like.
And here he is right here, and he just beats the gap through Dan Rasevich and David Pitcher, and you'll see Matic had no choice. They make a blocking error, and it goes as a turnover against the Roughriders.
Well, I'll tell you, in the Saskatchewan scheme, and I've been on that punt team, David Pitcher has the responsibility inside out first. He went to the outside man. That left Gordon free.
They needed you on there for that one.
What a monster turnover for the Lions. Set up inside the 45. McManus releasing. And there's no running room for John Leach. Leach, a late starter, added to this lineup tonight.
That was
when Tyrone Chapman couldn't answer the call this afternoon.
Sorry, Don. That was one of those plays where Bobby Jersman was actually blocked on the play by Todd Furtick. Because he was blocked, it made him perfect position for the screenplay. You'll see him come in late right there. He wasn't getting up the field. That made him in a great spot to tackle Leach.
And once again, the Saskatchewan defense under an enormous amount of pressure. You know, they can't let this game get out of hand, and they're backed up with the turnover.
2nd and 11, markers are down.
Time count violation. BC number 14. 5-yard penalty. Second down repeated.
Riders getting back-to-back breaks here.
See defensive coordinator Jim Daly sending out the defensive signals. That's an over front, which means you got 4 defensive linemen and 3 linebackers back there, and he looks like he's going to play some zone defense out of it.
What do the arms crossed mean?
That means a cover 3, if I remember correctly. 3 deep zone.
Here we go.
Second and a bunch facing McManus. He goes for a bundle here. And Philpott, the intended receiver.
And you know what? He changed them up on me. They went man-to-man.
Well, you got to change the signals every once in a while.
You know, I'm a big fan of Jim Daly's. I think he's a terrific defensive coordinator, has a lot of enthusiasm, puts in terrific game plans. And, you know, as a coach, there's a fine line between when you become passive and when you become aggressive. And I think Jim Daly has a great feel for certain games. And, I mean, you're only as good as your defensive personnel, but I think he knows when to turn the heat up and he knows when to lay off. And he has a real nice blend with his group.
Lou Pasaglia standing near his 45-yard line. No one has scored more points in football anywhere ever than Lou Pasaglia during his 20-year career as a BC Lion. Ruffin will have to let it bounce. Charges in and draws some flags. We'll sort it out when we return to the stadium at BC Place. Riders fighting for their playoff lives against the Lions here tonight.
Pushing camera 3.
Timeout is called right now. Shaq's got to do something big to get back in this game.
Commercial.
Shaq is leaving the court.
What do you mean? He's over there. He's on Lucy.
What?
I didn't know Shaq could ride a horse.
Hiya, pal.
Well, the timeout is over. I wonder if he's going to get back. Hey, wait a minute. Shaq's back. He got it. How about that?
He says there's nothing good on
TV. Tonight's event is brought to you in part by Trojan Condoms.
As a rule, engines develop good torque only when you push hard on the accelerator. But even at idle speed, a Dodge Magnum V8 can pull not only this loaded Ram 1500, but this loaded 2500 and a loaded 3500 as well. 15 tons. That's because every Ram truck has to pull much more than its own weight, even at idle speed. Dodge. Canada's truck stop.
Chicago scores with 24 overtime hits. Overtime in stores now.
That's our vantage point at the stadium at BC Place, looking over the Lions and the Saskatchewan Roughriders and watching Daly on the sidelines doing this. What was that supposed to be, Leaf?
Well, you know, my esteemed colleague right here indicated that that was going to be his zone coverage, but obviously his old buddy Jim Daly decided that he would fix it because Glenn said, you know, we're going to watch you tonight. I got to fix some of those signals. So he gave you the big old double cross.
Yeah,
he changed them up on me.
We're looking for Daly's bunny ears signals coming up a little later. This is Robert Mims on first down. Nice hole opens up, and he'll have another first down for the Roughriders. Out to the 47. Newby is there after a 13-yard gain.
And you know what's interesting, fellas? We saw only 17 yards rushing for Saskatchewan at the half, and I really think that they went in and looked at the statistics and they said, look, I mean, we don't need to overkill this, but we need to run the football a little bit, and they've done it a little more here in the third quarter, and, you know, they've had success with it on the draw to Robert Mims.
Out across the 45, Burgess has a first down. He'll look deep. He has Elgard, couldn't hang on. Elgard had it in his mitts and couldn't hang on. Sims was there. Catchable ball, I'd say.
Well, Glenn, you know Ray Elgard as well as anybody, and hey, this has been a tough year for your old buddy.
It sure has been frustrating for him. You know, 745 yards coming into this game with only 2 touchdowns, and he got those 2 touchdowns in one game. And you know, with Ray he's had. You saw his career numbers there over the years. He needs to be involved more. He wants to be involved more.
Now, is it a fact that he's lost a step, or they're just not going to him?
I think the offensive scheme has gone away from him, and I think that's been one of the problems for Saskatchewan.
On 2nd and 10, there was some movement back there. Holland was the intended receiver. Jefferson covering, and there was no flag. A little bumping down there. Jacques looking for something.
Well, he's looking to see the contact on that. But I tell you, when you play against the BC Lion corners, and although Eddie Thomas has been beaten a couple of times tonight, as a wide receiver going against Jefferson and Thomas all night long, I mean, you really have your work cut out for you because you have to do a heck of a lot of running. Anytime you get that constant bump and run, you're going to have to run twice as much as you normally do. And, it's been tough to get open on some of these patterns tonight.
Thomas is deep again. Manich couldn't get his last one away. This one gets by Eddie Thomas. Big turnaround for the Saskatchewan Roughriders if they can make a tackle on Thomas deep in BC territory. He found the seam. I think he was out. He was. When you look at that punt that Manich couldn't get away and the turnover going BC's way, the Lions didn't come out with anything, and the Roughriders have reestablished field position.
When you drive your Jeep out of the...
It's Danny's turn. The Lions have a 7-point lead on Saskatchewan. Stay tuned following the game for the TSN Turning Point. Brought to you tonight by Sony.
The new Sony Handycam Vision. Clearly the latest in video.
Saskatchewan trying to claim the final playoff spot in the CFL North Division at BC Place tonight. BC 1st and 10 at the 26. McManus play action. And he missed Flutie.
Danny McManus took a pretty good shot from Bobby Jurison that time as he tried to step up into the pocket, and make no mistake, Danny McManus is a much better quarterback when he can step up and deliver off that front foot. But when he did, Bobby Jurison was right in his face with a pretty good hit. Don't think those hits don't take their toll after a while.
Well, this is an offensive line that has only given up 18 sacks, but like you talked about, McManus has taken a bunch of hits just as he throws the ball this year.
This Rough Rider defense gave Garcia a pretty good ride in Calgary last week. Here's Flutie. Made the catch and fought for extra yards. Out across the 40-yard line. He has 15. Riders had a chance to hold him short of the first down.
And once again, McManus took another shot from Glenn Cook, and just as he let that ball go. But, to his credit, he can feel it coming, and he's going to hang in and make the completion to Darren Flutie. But again, that's another solid shot that he took.
And how about this hit right here? Vincent Donaldson hits Darren Flutie, rocks him, and to Flutie's credit, he spins off and gets a few extra yards, and then Ron Getzley hits him again.
Lions at the 41 on first down. This is Philpott. Hard running inside. 47, Ron Getz landed on top of him. Rasevich also in on the tackle.
All right, Glenn, we're going to give you another chance to make this defensive call. Don't mess it up.
Okay,
he's tapping his tummy.
Okay, that's a zone defense. That's again, we're going zone, but it's a 2 deep. It's an under, which means you're going to stunt one linebacker, and then he doesn't really know what's going on after that. That's why the arms are in the air.
On second down, McManus has to throw short pressure again.
Well, that time it was a zone at least. I remember a couple of them, I guess.
Here's Daly reacting, inset at the bottom.
Well, he called it. Now he just has to have it executed, and he looks out, sees the ball hits the turf, and says, yeah, okay.
Well, he brought 6 guys that time, and once again, Dave McManus had no choice but to let it go, or Bobby Jurison was going to get the sack, and he came up just a bit short, so obviously it was the right call to force the pressure and the bad throw.
Basaglia from his 30. Aaron Ruffin. Away from the first wave. Turns it into a decent return. Still standing as he spins across the 55 and down to the BC 50-yard line. Solid return for Ruffin, 26 yards after a 33-yard punt. Taylor Field, Regina, 3 weeks from tomorrow. The 1995 Grey Cup, the 83rd CFL championship will be there on TSN Grey Cup Radio.
Leaf, I guess we should bring our parkas for that one.
Oh, not old Saskatchewan guys. We won't even need gloves, will we?
I'll tell you what, I'm not going to take any chances. You know, you talk to Ray Yock and you say, who was the MVP of your team this year? And Aaron Ruffin's name comes to the top of the list. I know he's a nickel back and returns kicks, but he's had a great year.
Burgess on first down, and he's got Mims. Burgess has had a bit of a tough streak. He was 5 for 5 for 79 yards early. Now, 3 of his last 10 for 32.
And you talked about, Leaf, the scheme. If you have a Tom Burgess at quarterback for Dave Ritchie, and that's to send some pressure, and you're going to see some coming. There's Benefield from the outside, and Scrivener up the middle, or, excuse me, Andrew Stewart up the middle. You're right. There's going to be some pressure on Tom Burgess in that pocket.
Second down, about 4. Burgess fired for Elgard. It was behind him. Elgard could only get 1 glove on it.
No, it's really too bad. In years past, it seemed like, you know, these were such easy patterns to go to with Ray Elgard. It was, you know, just like pitch and catch. Here he is lined up at number 3. This is pretty easy. He just runs the out. But for some reason, they just can't connect with him this year. I don't know if it's just one of these bad years, or he's running his patterns differently, or the quarterbacks are reading different things. But, you know, it's been a bad year, and he just hasn't been able to recover from it.
Well, you know what? When you're not part of the offensive scheme, you get that timing problem.
Here's Paul McCallum again. The ball will be spotted at the 52. He hit from there last week to tie the game against the Stampeders. Has he got it here? Yes. My gosh, 3 for 3 tonight. 5 for 5 last week against the Calgary Stampeder. This guy has been perfect as a kicker for the Saskatchewan Roughriders.
Boy, it's a good thing he was kicking with the wind there to just get it over the berm.
Paul McCallum gets the Roughriders a little closer. It's 21-17 in BC. Here's Paul McCallum again. 3 for 3. This from 52 yards away.
Yeah, there's a tremendous amount of pressure on Paul McCallum in this situation. He's not only playing back here in front of his ex-teammates and wants to do good, but he's also got all this controversy swirling around him.
You thought there might be more pressure on him here tonight in his second game in Vancouver than last week in his first against Calgary.
Absolutely.
Wait a minute. What controversy? The guy's 8 for 8. Give me a break.
Lions first down. Here's McManus. Way over the head of Darren Flutie.
You know, I have to think about Ray Yock. Look here. You had a chance. But we don't beat this one to death. But guys, they had a chance to get a kicker that could be their kicker for the next 10 years. He's come in, he's 8 to 8. Ray Yock looks like a genius. I know he's your old buddy, Mr. Suter, but
hey, you know what though? I think Paul McCallum has a great future ahead of him, and I told him that last year when he was a kicker with us when Dave got hurt. He has got a great future, and he's an excellent player.
Well, he's been nothing but perfect for Saskatchewan so far. McManus on 2nd and 10. It's picked off. Here's Omar. A race to the end zone. Yes!
Sounds like there's more Saskatchewan fans here than BC.
Usually is.
What a play by Terrell Alber.
That's usually the case here. 41-yard interception return for a touchdown.
And the dance. Right him. You know, he's one of those great all-around athletes. At one time, we even used him on offense. And in this play, Danny McManus lets the ball go, and Tyrell had read the mail. He knew where the pattern was going before Gordon did, stepped in front of it, and then it was a foot race.
It's one of those patterns as a quarterback. You know, you roll to the wide side and you want to go that throwback, and sometimes it's premeditated. He just went back there, and Ulmer was right there with the easy interception. You know, I'll tell you what, you look at this game, and Danny McManus' interceptions have really hurt him this year. Now, when you're winning, it doesn't matter. But when you're losing games and interceptions are costing you games, it starts to matter, and it's mattering right now for the BC Lions, and this matters too.
Yeah, this is tough news for the Lions right now. Corey Philpott trying to make a tackle and couldn't quite get there. He rolls off Ulmer, and he hasn't been up since he hit the turf.
That left arm came down hard on the turf. It's hard to see if that was the problem. Looks like the trainer, Billy Rochelle, is grabbing that hamstring. And the Lions have had a bunch of hamstring problems. And I know Dave Ritchie's just praying that this one isn't another one.
Even the offensive linemen are coming up with hamstring injuries in BC. Nick Stevenson has one.
Ian Sinclair also hurt with the hamstring. Mike Trevathan has got a hamstring. Darren Flutie had a hamstring problem during the year. You know, Dave Ritchie's told me part of it was their schedule. And he says, you know, when those hamstrings get tired, and he's got a point, they've had that tough schedule. That's when you pull it.
Here's one more look, and this is not all that pleasant to watch if you look at Philpott's right leg as he goes down.
Well, you see that right leg just whip around right now, and it looks like maybe the muscle in the back just gave out a little bit with that kind of stress being put on it. And the entry bug, as you gentlemen have alluded to, is really...
And this looks bad. Yeah, this looks bad. He's not even putting any weight on it. You saw that leg flop around when it turned. It looked like when he went to make the tackle and pushed off, that's when he pulled the hamstring, and then he just had no strength to hold it when his body flipped around.
Philpott got the first two Lion touchdowns tonight. A 1-yard plunge and then a 64-yard dash to set the CFL record of 22 touchdowns in one season. He's definitely done for this night. Paul McCallum patiently awaits the extra point as the Saskatchewan Roughriders have moved back into the lead on top of the BC Lions. It's 24-21. At one point, the Lions led the game 14-3. Saskatchewan has outscored BC 21-7. That's since Burgess came into the game, obviously.
Well, we talked about Danny McManus and the fact that a lot of times he's a timing quarterback. That means he throws the ball before his receiver makes the break. He lets it go, hoping Gordon will get back to that curl spot, but Tyrell Ulmer beat him to it.
No chance McManus was going to make the tackle there, was there?
Well, Tyrell's played offense, and I used to call him prime time, stealing, of course, from Deion Sanders, because he's that kind of athlete.
Yeah, baby. See that right there?
Well,
that's
3 weeks tomorrow.
Right, that's what we going for. The cup.
What's the number 4 stand for, though?
4 wins to go.
Ah, okay.
Well, that's the win. That's winning the whole shooting match.
That's winning it all.
3 wins to get there.
Yeah. Great all-around athlete. Good cover guys, played offense, and he's got tremendous speed.
Well, it's like he saw something from maybe watching some films when McManus went to that role, and, you know, maybe they were going to come back his way, and he certainly was there waiting for it.
This is John Leach. He'll be playing in place of Philpott, and here he comes. Needs a block. What a return by number 4, John Leach. 53-yard kickoff, and Leach took it back 52.
And this has been a game of tremendous swings in momentum, and Saskatchewan certainly dominating the third quarter. But now all of a sudden with this tremendous kickoff return by John Leach, and you know, the BC Lions are right back in it. I mean, can't ask for better field position than to start at the other team's 35-yard line. And John Leach is going to get a lot of work here to finish this game out.
I was going to say, it's a good thing he broke that one for John Leach to say, because he needs to be warmed up. He's his tailback now.
I think he's warm now.
Yeah.
Leach and Paul Blackwood in the backfield. And this is Blackwood for a couple straight ahead. Rasovic in on the tackle, and Paul Blackwood.
Kind of interesting, you know, you go back to 7 weeks ago with this BC Lion team, and you have a starting backfield of Sean Millington and Corey Philpott, and you're saying, boy, that's as good as any backfield in the league. And all of a sudden now in the 18th week, with Corey Philpott on the sidelines, it's Paul Blackwood and John Leach. Paul Blackwood and John Leach, who? I mean, this is tough.
Looks
looks a little more encouraging over there at the BC bench now, the way they're talking to Philpott. On second down, McManus gets a big charge. The ball comes loose. Was it in the throwing motion, or did they roll it a fumble? Fumble. Bobby Jurison in the middle of things down there, and it sounds like this is going to Saskatchewan. Well, hang on. There's a whole bunch of Roughriders supporters, a lot of them here on good old Dash tours, I'm sure. In for the game of the weekend.
Well, Leaf, you just talked about the newcomer and Paul Blackwood having to play for Sean Millington, and the fullback has to be called upon to do some blocking assignments at times, and in this occasion, he's up against one of the best in Bobby Jurison. Bobby's going to do the rip move. That's that right arm underneath, come around the corner, and get that hand on the ball and knock it down.
That's a good call by the officials. It looked like a fumble, clearly. That arm hadn't started forward, and that was an excellent call.
Rasevich coming up with it.
Bud Steen and his crew right on the spot, because Danny McManus didn't get that arm all the way through. The fumble was created by Bobby Jurison's effort.
Couple of turnovers.
Back-to-backers. Interception and now the fumble.
Philpott will not be back for the Lions, but it's apparently only a slight hamstring injury. Play action fake. Burgess on first down. Markers are down as Boyko is dropped out near the 50. 15 yards for Boyko if it stands. Penalty indication against Saskatchewan. Roughriders on top, 24-21.
Ineligible receiver. Saskatchewan number 15, 10-yard penalty. First down repeated.
Did he line up incorrectly?
Well, he may have put himself on the line of scrimmage, which makes him like the tackle on the play, which means he can't catch a pass.
Yeah, here he is right up here, and he makes himself ineligible up there.
Slips out into that screen, and if he's on the line of scrimmage like he was in that case, he became the tackle, was ineligible.
This is first and 20. Fake to Mims. Narcisse made the catch. He's out of bounds now.
Well, you only need 1 foot in the Canadian Football League, and if you're pushed out, they'll say it's a catch. But I think it was a good call by the official. The ball's momentum took Don Narcisse out of bounds there.
Tell you what, Ray Yock was working him pretty hard there on the sidelines, but I think they made the right call, and you're going to get a good look at it here with Narcisse. I mean, it's a heck of a catch. Nice effort to come down with it, but, you know, check the feet out. That's really tough to see, but it sure looks like he was out of bounds. Of course, you can't convince Ray Yock.
No, he hated the call. Second and 20. Jefferson wanted a call.
Well, he had Narcisse push off him earlier and come up with a catch. There's all kinds of hand contact going on down the field on both sides of the field, and Jefferson's just letting the official know that, hey, one of these times you got to give me one of these calls.
Oh, but I think to the officials' credit, they realized that, you know, with these two BC corners, you're going to have a lot of contact just by the nature of the way they play, and the officials are letting them play, and I sure like that.
You know, I think if you asked any player in the league, they'd say no calls is better than anything. Don't call anything instead of calling too much.
Managed back at his 15. Another good charge, and this time they block it. Riders pick it up. Now it's loose again. Lions all around. Still loose. Markers down. Whoa! Saskatchewan did not advance at the necessary 20 yards to retain possession.
Oh, no, it was BC's ball either way, but I'll tell you what, I want to know who greased the football. It went through about 20 different hands before the recovery was made.
Another opportunity for the BC Lions to ruin the night for Saskatchewan.
And punt protection has been a real problem for the Roughriders tonight. And on the left side of your screen, you're going to see a whole lot of BC Lions come flying through there. Benny Field and Kelly Sims, number 3. Wow. My, oh my. I mean, that you got to take care of your own house before you hear that kick go. And the Saskatchewan Roughriders just have not done a good job tonight.
And here, who wants the ball? Okay, I think I got it. No, it's going to bounce out. It goes through another 4 hands before it's recovered.
Lions set up at the Saskatchewan 25. Blackwood can't go anywhere. He was in the grasp of Gary Rogers, number 41.
Well, if you make a good point on the punt protection. You got to make your block first before you cover the punt. It's 2 stages. You got to make sure you stand up and restart that pass rush. You see Shelton Quarles go up and over the top of Ron Getz, and then the fumble-rooski begins.
2nd and 10. This is Leach, and he's slowed down and then grabbed from behind by Finley.
I'll tell you what, Jim Daly's defense in crucial situations has played awfully well. They've been put to the test with turnovers tonight and backed up. And here again on a 2nd down situation, they shoot the gaps, and BC Lions try and surprise them with the run with John Leach, but too many guys coming up through the gaps there to try and get a successful running play.
Well, I'm a little surprised with the call from the BC Lions on 2nd down and 10 to run that kind of play.
I guess so. You know, I always felt like that's kind of giving up. You know, your best shot is through the air, and you know, they just didn't take it.
Pasaglia from 31. He's got it. Oh, even one more time. Lions get 3 from a turnover. From the Canapali Golf Club in Hawaii tomorrow, the defending champion Bob Murphy is in the field. For golf coverage on TSN, we'll have final round coverage live beginning at 5:30 Eastern Time.
Leaf, how's your golf game?
Not very good.
No, wait a minute. You're in the 70s, aren't you?
Well, only when the temperature's in the 70s, and it hasn't been like that in Toronto lately.
Don't play him for money, Glenn.
Well, this game may come down to his foot. 24 all right now.
Well, you kind of get the feeling that it might, don't you?
Yeah, just the way this last couple of weeks have gone, and 8 for 8 is Paul McCallum, and boy, this feels like it's going to be up to him.
He hasn't felt the pressure yet, has he?
Well,
I mean, it's building and building and building, but when you're looking at a tie ball game at 24, and you're in your 2nd week with the football team, and you're perfect, one of these days, you're going to have to make a big, big kick to try and win something. Here's Ruffin on the return.
Well, you talked about momentum, Leaf, and do you get the feeling that it's switched back a little bit again?
Well, it might be, but, you know, I mean, this is a great life of a kicker, though. I mean, the other guys are getting a drink of water and sitting on the bench and into the game. The kickers, they just kind of get to lie around out there and sit around and take a look at it from the low angle, but... Oh, to be a kicker, you know, that's a pretty good job.
Hey, you know what? Everybody wants the job until there's no time on the clock and the score is tied. Then everyone says, oh, no, thank goodness it's not me.
We may come down to that before it's over here tonight. Saskatchewan 1st down. Burgess far side has a completion. He's short of the 1st down. It's Don Narcisse, nominated as Saskatchewan's outstanding player and leading the CFL in receptions so far this season. Burgess had a hot start tonight. He was 5 for 5, scored on the 1st drive.
Well, John, it kind of goes with what we said in the 2nd quarter when he came in. I mean, he can light it up in a hurry, but he can also take a little time off, and that 5 for 15 tells you which way he's gone.
On 2nd down, Burgess goes to the far side and has Farthing. That'll be a 1st down, Saskatchewan. Farthing has 9. He's made some big catches tonight, number 10.
He sure has, and no bigger than that one. I mean, it wasn't a huge play as far as yardage, but watch the catch that he comes up with. I mean, Great coverage by Robert Davis, and he basically outfights him for the football.
And look at the time Burgess had to throw. He was able to look to the wide side of the field and then come back to his secondary receiver, and that's only because his offensive line gave good protection.
8th catch for Farthing. He has 83 yards. And there's number 9. And 8 more for Dan Farthing. And into that, he got a touchdown and also made the reception on the 2-point convert. It's all even with a quarter to play at the stadium at BC Place.
We take you back to that.
Here's the story. Both teams have 24 points. Ritchie on the left, Yock on the right, and Ray Yock feeling a little more pressure than Dave Ritchie. A win tonight gets the Saskatchewan Roughriders the final playoff spot. And a date in Baltimore next weekend. Dave Ritchie heads for Edmonton, but he's trying to put his Lions back together after 5 straight losses. So Ritchie is in the playoffs, but he's looking for a few more positive signs from his football team. Tom Burgess, in relief of Warren Jones, has put some points up on the scoreboard for Saskatchewan. 24 to be exact. This is Mims. Slowed down by Charles Gordon, number 26. Penalty marker far side.
Well, you look at the third quarter stats, and what comes to mind right here, you know, it was a clean first half for BC, and all of a sudden an interception, and that results in 7 points on the over interception, then of course the fumble. But you know, that's what you always want to do as a team, is to create points from the turnovers, and the Saskatchewan Roughriders were able to do that.
The infraction being marked off against Saskatchewan.
Well, you look back at
holding call.
Look back at that Ulmer interception, and to me, that's the play of the game right now. And I know we got a long way to go, but I mean, to me, that was the big play so far.
Well, we talked about it at the beginning. This defense has been the key for Saskatchewan all season, and it's keeping them in this game again.
Narcisse to the near side. Holland to the far side on 2nd and 12 for Burgess. And who does he go to? Don Narcisse. He fought for the first down. Narcisse needed 12. He comes up with an extra 2, a 14-yard gain.
And give Tom Burgess a lot of credit. He stood in and took an awful hit from David Benefield. Watch the move on Dan Payne to the inside. Boom, he's got it. Boom, right up in the ribs. But to Burgess' credit, he's able to deliver that strike.
Now at the 51, 1st and 10, Saskatchewan. Robert Mims. Good move by Mims to break through. And he backs across the 45-yard line down to about the 41. 18 yards for Mims.
Wow, this is the Robert Mims that back in 1991 had over 1,700 yards rushing. We got a glimpse of that kind of Robert Mims again, because he put on some great moves once he broke that initial line of scrimmage.
And this, sorry, Glenn, this is one of the ways to slow down that pass rush, too. You look at 18 yards and only 17 rushing yards in the first half, and all of a sudden now they've had 36 yards rushing in the second half. Doesn't sound like much, but it means a lot.
This is Mims again, and he's got another solid run and another Saskatchewan first down. Good hold for Mims, 14 yards that time.
Well, he's getting some good blocking at the point of attack, too. Look at Scott Hendrickson, the left guard. Watch him lead old Robert Mims right up through on the counter. And here it comes, and Mims with a full head of steam. All of a sudden, the Saskatchewan offensive line is really getting the upper hand against the BC front four.
Late, this is the 8th play of the drive. Another Saskatchewan first down. And it looks like it might be a time count violation. Flag down before the ball was snapped.
Illegal procedure. Saskatchewan number 60. 5-yard penalty, first down repeated.
It's Gene McCoskey.
You know, the Saskatchewan's offense right now running a lot of those counters. You saw that Scott Henderson, pulled and let up Mims on that play. Counters are great plays to run against stunting defenses. Right now, BC's running those stunts, and they're getting caught.
1st and 15. Saskatchewan, almost twice as many yards penalized in penalties. Burgess was under big pressure. I think he might have been looking for Mims.
You know, Glenn, you bring up an interesting point about running against a stunting defense, and you know, sometimes you know you're not going to get some success, but every once in a while you hit the stunt just right, you're going to get a big play with your running game. And you know, that time Burge was trying to set up the screen, no way, but against a stunting team you have to be willing to at least try to run, and Saskatchewan's done that in the second half and had success with it.
It makes guys like Virgil Robertson, number 96 right there, think twice about pinning those ears back and rushing the passer.
2nd and 15. Burgess has time this time. He has Elgard, and it's picked out. Grabbed by Kelly Sims. Sims still going. He's at the 20. Finally caught by Dan Farthing. It's not easy to make the playoffs, is it? Against Calgary last week when Saskatchewan had an opportunity to jump back into a tie. This drive ends in an interception by Kelly Sims, only his second on the season. Disappointment for Burgess. Saskatchewan Roughriders fighting for a playoff spot, tied at 24 with the BC Lions. The interception by Sims sets BC up at the Lions 41. Big heat on McManus as he looked for Clark. McManus took a hit. Burgess just coughed up the interception on the previous play. Another look here.
Well, you get the feeling that Kelly Sims has been baiting Tom Burgess all night. That time he cuts underneath, waits till the ball's in the air, and comes up with the big interception.
Interesting, Farthing missed the tackle down there and came back to get it at about the 41. 2nd and 10 Lions. McManus with time this time, looking for Flutie. Oh! He got away from Joseph, couldn't make the catch.
Well, they had the perfect play called because Saskatchewan went with the safety blitz. Dave Van Bellingham on the rush, and Darren Flutie ran the corner route. That safety was out in the middle. It was man-to-man defense, and right play called, pretty good throw. Darren had to look back over his other shoulder and almost comes up with a catch.
Yeah, 9 times out of 10, though, Darren Flutie makes that catch for you, but for some reason tonight he just couldn't come up with it. Danny Mack, give him credit. He made the right read.
Saskatchewan defense holds again. Pasaglia. Ruffin to return. They got the wall set. Only Pasaglia to make the tackle on the far side. But Louis got over to slow him down enough. 43 yards on the return. Momentum has shifted one more time. All even at BC Place. It's 24-24 as the Roughriders fight for their playoff lives. Number 33, Aaron Ruffin, helps out big time here with 43 yards on the return.
Boy, he has done a super job on these returns for Saskatchewan this year. You know, he's second in the CFL in kick returns. And
watch what happened to Burgess earlier. This was on the interception. He's angry enough about that, and then look what happens to him.
Well, this is why quarterbacks don't like to throw interceptions.
That's illegal, but I don't know what you call it.
Well, the ref went and said, hey, this isn't WWF. We're not going for the 3 count on the pin. You got to just block him and get off.
Burgess has the ball back after tossing his first interception of the evening. Saskatchewan set up at the 37-yard line. Holland to the near side. Narcisse flank to the far side of the field. Burgess has a man open and underthrew him. That's Farthing. A little more heat. that time, Leaf.
Yeah, it's always amazing to me, though. You know, Burgess has thrown some terrific passes tonight. He's got the guy wide open, Dan Farthing, down the sidelines, and, you know, can't get it into him. I know the pressure's coming, but the pressure really does come late, and, you know, that's a ball that probably should have been completed. The great enigma with Tom Burgess, you know, I mean, he can look so good sometimes, and then you got a wide open guy who doesn't come close.
He can show it to you all in one game, too. 2nd and 10. And almost picked off again. Gordon almost had his 8th of the year. So Paul McCallum comes in.
It's pretty interesting defense. You got Farthing running the out, but watch how the zone coverage, they just leave their men and come off and almost get the interception. They really fool Tom Burgess with the coverage. There you see Charlie Gordon. Now watch him leave his man on the outside, comes back in, and, you know, Tommy Burgess doesn't read it. He thinks it's man-to-man, and all of a sudden you got Charlie Gordon in there with almost the interception.
Now, Glenn, is this the pressure moment for McCallum, or is it still the count?
Well, no, I mean, there's pressure in all of this game. This is one of them.
McCallum, he's missed this one. Lions will give up a single point. 3 for 3 on the night. Until then, he is 3 of 4. First miss in a Saskatchewan Roughrider uniform, but it goes for a single. McCallum has Saskatchewan in the lead by a point.
See the kick coming up and just going wide to the right. Tremendous amount of pressure on Paul McCallum. It wasn't by much.
Well, let's just say the law of averages finally caught up with him.
You can't be 1,000% in this kicking game forever, can
I
you?
don't know one that has. So the law of averages finally caught up with Paul McCallum, but don't count him out. If the game's on the line, I like his chances.
McManus. And there are markers down as McManus looked for Blackwood. Is Finley the one to blame? Paul Blackwood, the intended receiver. Saskatchewan on top by a point with 9:31 to go. Looks like a holding infraction for one, but there are 2 markers on the field.
We have ineligible receiver, BC number 19. That penalty is declined. We also have holding, BC number 57. That's a 10-yard penalty, and it'll be first down repeated.
Well, it's the same old thing. It happened to Bruce Boyko earlier. You know, the fullbacks are coming up on the line of scrimmage, and there's Paul Blackwood right here. But he's on the line of scrimmage. He's got to be back a little bit, so he makes himself ineligible on this play. And, you know, the officials have to call it. I mean, he's not a legal receiver.
McManus looks at 1st and 20 here at the Lions 27. And another marker down. Yo Murphy was the intended receiver. Almer covering. Murphy hasn't been mentioned or looked at a whole bunch tonight.
I think that's maybe the first time they've thrown a ball his way.
Deliberate forward pass interference, Saskatchewan number 2. Spot foul, first down, BC.
Here's an interesting story. That's only BC's 2nd first down of the 2nd half.
And they've had some pretty good field position to deal with.
Yeah, but I don't think it's any secret that when you lose Corey Philpott and Mike Trevathan's not in there, your first down production is going to take a whack.
McManus from the 46. Too far for Robert Gordon.
Well, both quarterbacks really have had some opportunities to make things happen. I mean, Robert Gordon had a step right there on Brian Randall, but Danny McManus just inches away from the big completion.
It'll be 2nd and 10.
Well, look at this Saskatchewan Roughriders. They're coming up now. This is what BC's going to see. They've decided to come up and be a lot more aggressive and take the underneath stuff away, and that tells McManus he's got to go over the top.
He's missed his last 6. Looks to Flutie. That's 7 straight passes that McManus has been unable to complete. That was a little bit closer, however.
But you know, it's the same old thing. They come up and jam, 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 and when you do that, you're saying to BC, the only way you can attack us is to go over the top. And, you know, although you can have some big plays against you, it's not a very high percentage passing game for the offense, and so far it's a, you know, quick 2 and out.
Well, the Saskatchewan secondary has really been the strength of their defense throughout this season. You know, they're the lowest percent of passes completed against this team, and they're also 4 out of the 5 are the leading tacklers on the team.
You know, under 50% against that secondary, which is a phenomenal number.
Ruffin had a great return last time. He's lucky to hang on to the ball. 33-yard punt from Pasaglia there.
You know, I think you talk about the secondary, we should blow a little smoke for Richie Hall, who's the secondary coach for Jim Daly's team. And, you know, to be 49% teams throwing against your secondary, I mean, it's truly a phenomenal number, you know, after 17 weeks in the season, and one of the reasons why they still have a chance to qualify for the playoffs.
Yeah, I knew he'd be a great coach. He came into the office when he first started coaching with Saskatchewan, sat down with me, and he's got the perfect mannerism. He said, listen, let's just talk about it. We're co-coaches here.
He never talks, though. How does he handle the meetings? He doesn't say much.
He gives you the look.
Saskatchewan first down. Mims caught in the backfield from behind. Chaders has him around the knees.
You talk about the look. Sometimes when you're a coach, the look's better than saying a lot of words.
Well, you know, everyone's professional out there, and you're right, Leaf. When you know you've made a mistake, you're watching the game film, that coach looks over to you. I mean, nothing needs to be said about it.
The look can be terrifying at times.
But he's got the perfect mannerisms for a secondary coach. Low key, he'll say, hey, we're going to get beat. No big deal. Let's go line up again.
Mims got a yard. This is 2nd and 9. Burgess looks to put it up. Coming to the near side. It's picked up. Jefferson. He was forced out by Boyko, I believe. Jefferson's 3rd of the season. That play didn't look good as it was developing for Saskatchewan, did it?
It looked to me like Don Narcisse ran a good pattern, but Burgess just waited too long.
Gentlemen, tell it like it is. It was a ball that should have never been thrown. It took too long. When you wait that long and you want to throw a wide side out against James Jefferson, you're asking for big trouble, and Tommy Burgess got it with the interception. The ball should have never been thrown.
Well, you see, Burgess looked to his right twice. Once he went to his right twice and then tried to get it out there, that's too far to go, Leaf. You're right. Jefferson has time to recover.
You know, it's one thing to try and make things happen, but then it's also, you know, one other thing to make bad decisions. That was a bad decision.
Leach for a couple for the BC Lions on 1st down.
You know, you look at Tommy Burgess, and he's a fine person, and he's had some terrific days as a quarterback, but the one thing that has plagued his career is some poor decision-making resulting in interceptions, and, you know, that was a perfect example of it. Nobody knows better than Tom, but, you know, James Jefferson, he was all over Narcisse.
2nd down, McManus. Catch ruled out of bounds. Couldn't quite keep a foot in. Matt Clark.
Pretty nice job by Clark to do the stop route and just hang on the sideline, but he just couldn't keep those heels in. Couldn't quite see it from that picture, but the official was right on the spot.
6:31 to go, 4th quarter. Saskatchewan leading by a point. And the Lions field goal unit comes in. Chance for BC to retake the lead.
Well, you look at the first half, and it was a pretty error-free first half with turnovers, and all of a sudden the second half here, you know, the more the pressure is building, the more errors being committed, and obviously the more points that are going to be scored as a result of those errors.
Lou Pasaglia hitting on 70% of his field goal attempts. With Flutie holding, it'll be spotted at the 36, and there's Lou. He's got it. Pressure continues to mount on the head coach of the Saskatchewan Roughriders, Ray Yock. He is down by 2 points again with 6:08 to go, fourth quarter. Roughriders have the ball back. Burgess has thrown 2 interceptions in the fourth quarter. Doesn't run often. Perhaps that's why. Stewart had him from behind. Scribner was involved.
BC Lions turn up the heat a little bit on Tommy Burgess. He knows Burgess has to get the ball in the air, and Glenn Scribner working on Scott Hendrickson doesn't give up, comes around him and ends up getting the sack.
Fourth sack of the year for Scribner. Second and 11 for Saskatchewan. Play whistle down one more time. That momentum shifting again.
Too long in the huddle, maybe?
Illegal procedure. Saskatchewan number 65, 5-yard penalty, second down repeated.
That's Pete Shorts, right tackle.
Comes over from San Antonio, where he played 7 games for the San Antonio. Real strong guy, 400 pounds, bench press, throws it around like it was nothing.
Narcisse to the near side. This is 2nd and 16 facing Burgess. Narcisse was his target and he just missed. Roughriders playoff hopes are riding on the outcome of this one. Saskatchewan wins tonight, and the Riders will be headed to the playoffs against Baltimore.
You know what? They're going to ask their defense to come up big again, Lee.
Yeah, you know, it's funny, Glenn. I was just thinking that the defense has really responded quite well, and they've been put in some awful positions throughout this game. And, you know, once again, I think, you know, they've got to, you know, if BC's ever scores a touchdown here, I don't like Saskatchewan's chances to be able to come back with just under 5 minutes to go. So there's no question there's going to be a tremendous amount of pressure on Jim Daly's group.
Manich will kick to Thomas. Low kick as he tries to angle it toward the sidelines. And Thomas had really nowhere to go. Tom Burgess has missed his last 6, including 2 interceptions. And there's a little pressure on the general manager right now, Al Ford.
You can see that coat moving up and down. You can tell there's some pressure on him. He's breathing heavily in the booth here.
This guy is feeling it too. There's a playoff spot for the taking here tonight.
Tom Burgess, the other one, he knows it's going to come down to him moving that team down the field for a chance to win.
McManus good on just 2 of 12 for 14 yards in the second half. So both quarterbacks are struggling a little bit here.
And I like the style of Jim Daly's defense right now. He's playing a real in-your-face style of football. The defensive backs are crowding the receivers. He's got guys like Gary Rogers coming up and filling the gaps. And, you know, it's not one of these sit-back defenses. It's going to be aggressive. And, boy, there's a little gut-wrenching going on in Eric Tillman, the general manager of the Lions. He's lost 5 in a row, and he knows they got to get back on track.
McManus, and he missed Clark. Lion fans thought maybe there should have been a call on Benson Donaldson.
Well, I don't know. That's one of those. Benson Donaldson's one of the best bump and run cover guys in the league, and that time it was just hand fighting going on. Both players trying to fight for position. I think it was a good no call.
And once again, give the officials credit. In a big game with all kinds on the line, they're letting the players play, and you have to like that.
All I said, guys, is Lion fans wanted a call.
Well, you started a debate here.
Bisaglia back at his 32, too deep for Saskatchewan. Here's Lou's view. He'll kick it to Ulmer or Ruffin. Aaron Ruffin slipped through for about 7 yards on the return. 33-yard punt. Now, decent field position here for Saskatchewan and quarterback Tom Burgess.
That's right. I was going to say the defense holds again.
Yeah, they did a great job. And, you know, you look back at this game, Saskatchewan happens to win.
Holding. British Columbia, it's a 10-yard penalty. Third down repeated.
If they are happen to win this game, their defense will deserve a lot of credit. And, you know, against some teams, that kind of holding penalty, they had pretty good field position there. You'd maybe decline it, but Lou Pasaglia, you know, in the twilight of his career is not exactly booming those punts anymore, so it's a good call to back him up another 10 yards.
Louis has the lowest net in the CFL, as a matter of fact, at 31.1.
And don't think the coaches don't take that statistic into consideration when they're making their decisions throughout the game. That's part of their pregame planning as well.
3:11 to go, final quarter. Saskatchewan down by 2 points. Pasaglia winds up again.
And he nails one.
This to Ulmer. Chased back to his 25. And now it opens up. Ulmer kind of ran out of gas near the 50, but there's a flag back at the Saskatchewan 40, and 2 Lions sprawled out on the field. It was a 38-yard return after a 48-yard Pasaglia punt.
Illegal block. Saskatchewan number 3. 10-yard penalty. First down, Saskatchewan.
That's Errol Brown with the illegal block. In time for Ray Yock to pace a little more on the sidelines at BC Place. He's down by a couple of points. A 2-point ball game as the Saskatchewan Roughriders try and grab a playoff spot. Here's the latest infraction.
Well, here's Errol Brown right here coming in on Tommy Europe, and you know, it's not much of a penalty, but it's a penalty. Get the hook in there, the clip, all of the above. I mean, rule of thumb, you got to get your helmet in front, and if you don't get it, then it's a penalty. It's a tough one, but it's a penalty.
And alongside right now, John Lipp, the president of the Saskatchewan Roughriders. Agonizing moments for you, obviously.
Oh, they really are, but it's coming down to the end, and I think we'll come through here.
John, looking ahead to the Grey Cup in Regina, it'll be 3 weeks from tomorrow. Is everything ready?
Everything is ready, John. We're going to have just a fantastic Grey Cup. Sold out. All the events are just going to be hopping, so it's going to be just a fantastic event.
Hang in for a second. We'll get back to the action.
Okay.
Burgess barely got it away. There's no game. A roughing penalty going against BC on Tom Burgess here. Glenn Scribner.
Well, not surprising that penalties hurting the BC Lions, you know, well documented, the most penalized team in the league. And well after this ball is released, Glenn Scribner is going to keep coming. And with that little extra exuberance, putting Tom Burgess on the ground, and that's a good call by Bud Steen. Got to protect those quarterbacks, and that's a mental mistake.
No question about it for Steen. That tied into exactly who is pointing at. We got you.
That's big 15 yards, you know, get Saskatchewan out of a hole.
Out near the 35 now with a first down. Robert Mims, and he slipped trying to make the cut. He's across the 40-yard line. We watched with terrific interest last week with 55,000 at Taylor Field for that Calgary game. And that's what it's going to be like Grey Cup Sunday.
Oh, you bet. That was just a bit of a rehearsal, and I think that indicated and proved that the fans are ready for the Grey Cup. When you have 500 for a game, it's just phenomenal. The city is ready, the province is ready. It's going to be an outstanding event.
We can hardly wait, John. Thanks for joining us. We'll see if the Roughriders here tonight still have a chance to be there.
They will.
Burgess for Elgard, and it's over by about 10 yards as Burgess aired that one out. John Lipp, president of the Saskatchewan Roughriders, and a little more pressure on Tom Burgess.
Now you're going to see Tom roll to his right and try and throw back to the post to Ray Elgard, and he threw it as he was jumping, and you can never be quite as accurate releasing the football. He's made the right read and the right person to throw to, just couldn't connect.
You know, Wellesley, when you were interviewing John Lipp, and when he said, oh, it's going to be a great Grey Cup, it's sold out, I thought he said it snowed out.
Well, it might be that too.
2:09 to go. Saskatchewan forced to punt it away again as Manich steps across his 30 and left foot's a high one. Chasing Thomas all the way back to his 25. Thomas breaks through. Out across the 40. And he was pretty close to going a little farther than that. Some great returns going both ways tonight.
Well, guess what? Ron Getz and the defense has to turn it up again.
And they really do. One thing Saskatchewan's going to try and do is strip some balls loose. You'll see Ricky Walters, number 35. He's trying to get he gets it loose, and Eddie Thomas is able to recover it. But, you know, that's one thing the defense, not only do they have to hold, I think they have to start looking at trying to create a turnover if they can. And, you know, that means stripping the ball or trying to force the action and get an interception.
Under 2 minutes to go as the training staff looks in on Gary Rogers.
Looks like one of those deals where Ivan Gutfriend, the trainer, is just trying to figure out if Gary knows where he is. .41 is right on the top corner, and you see Shelton Quarles just hammering him as he's trying to get back into that play.
Yeah, I think you're right. He just took one on the chin, a little woozy right now.
It's been an interesting year for the Saskatchewan Roughriders. An 0-5 start, just one win in the first 7 ball games, with a chance here tonight with a victory to qualify for the playoffs ahead of the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. But the Saskatchewan Roughriders have a minute 58 seconds to get at least 3 points on the board to win this thing. McManus with a first down. Pitch to Leach. And the defense comes up again for Saskatchewan. There's Getz one more time.
Well, we may be looking at what may be the play of the game for Saskatchewan right here. I mean, we're looking at a 2nd and 6 situation with a minute and 54 left. I mean, if BC can continue to keep this drive alive, pretty much can bury Saskatchewan in this case.
McManus looking at 2nd and 5 at the BC 49. He has not been able to move the Lions effectively in the second half. And he has a first down. Flutie makes the catch. Brian Randall forced him out. Big first down for the Lions.
It's not surprising when it gets down and the game is on the line that Doug Flutie would go to, or that Danny McManus would go to Darren Flutie and come up with the big catch to get the first down and keep this drive going. Yeah, just kind of like last year, you know, the
You're thinking
Western
back
Final.
to the Western Final, are
well,
you?
you betcha. Who'll ever forget that one?
Lions first down. This is Leach, and he hasn't been able to get loose. Saskatchewan has been tough to run against. Well, Saskatchewan automatically qualifies for a playoff spot with a win here tonight. If the Roughriders lose, they can sit and hope for their cousins in Ottawa to beat the Blue Bombers tomorrow, because in the event of a tie, meaning Saskatchewan and Winnipeg both with 6 and 12 records, Saskatchewan would get into the playoffs ahead of the Blue Bombers. But I wouldn't like to count on Ottawa, would you, Glenn?
Well, any team can win on any given day, but they're got to be favored.
Murphy got away from the cover, and it's up to Matt Bellingham. And back to make the tackle was over. Matt Bellingham slowed him down. That's Yo Murphy's first catch of the ball game, and it goes for 40 yards. Saskatchewan is in big trouble now.
Sorry, Glenn. Terrell Ulmer took the chance. He had to try and gamble and get in underneath and knock it down, and he came under, and he was just a hair too late. And Yo Murphy with the big catch. And talk about contributions this guy's made in the last couple of years. Of course, played in the Grey Cup in the Western Final last year because Mike Trevathan was hurt. Now playing again tonight because Mike Trevathan is hurt and probably will have to play in the playoffs, and he comes up with the enormous catch.
It's slipping away from Saskatchewan, already trailing by 2. The Lions are set up with a first down just outside the 10-yard line. Saskatchewan's defense has to get the ball back in a heck of a hurry.
Well, all of a sudden, what BC Lions have done now is at least put them in position to kick a field goal and force Saskatchewan to score the touchdown. And Saskatchewan's going to take a timeout on second down here to try and get the right defense call.
Unofficially, 38 seconds till the end of the game. Pasaglia warming up.
CFL Live on TSN. Brought to you by Pepsi. Nothing else is a Pepsi. And by Bell. Advantage long-distance services from the Alliance of Canada's only full-service telecommunications companies.
Into the final 38 seconds, McManus has a chance to ruin things for the Saskatchewan Roughriders if BC plays tonight. Second and 11 BC. McManus looks to put it up, looking for the touchdown toss. No flags down. Coverage by Randall.
Tell you, Brian Randall had an opportunity there to give his team one more crack at it, because when he turned around, that ball was right there, and had he intercepted that one.
34 seconds to go as Pasaglia comes on. If he makes this field goal, Saskatchewan has to score the touchdown. And Lou has been perfect tonight from 31 and 36.
He made a pretty big one from right about this spot late last fall here, didn't he?
Was that the one against Baltimore?
Yeah, I think it was. It kind of looked just like this picture you're looking at right now.
First downs to get into field goal range for Palmer. They got to score a touchdown.
Yeah, they need the touchdown at 30 to 25. Burgess with 30 seconds to work with. And it's picked up, intercepted by Robert Davis. Good night, Irene. Good night, Saskatchewan. Davis keeps the ball in motion. This is Gordon with it now. And Burgess has thrown 3 interceptions tonight. He threw an interception against Calgary last week that cost Saskatchewan an opportunity to at least move in for a tie against the Stampeders. Too many interceptions for number 12. That's 3 in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, it really has been the story of this second half. Some brilliant play in the first half, and then a poor decision on the Jefferson interception, and now one that, you know, kind of threw up for grabs. I mean, obviously he has to force the issue, but I got to tell you, I got a real problem with Robert Davis here. I mean, did he have the ultimate brain cramp when he throws the lateral out here when they've got the lead?
Just to keep the ball in play, right?
You know, there was more than 20 seconds left right now when he pitches it. And I know that Dave Ritchie is going to mention that to him. I mean, you have to think, what the heck is he thinking at this point? I mean, the game is over, and here Robert Davis is trying to take it down for even more yards. I mean, that's a nice interception and all that stuff, but you have to question what he was thinking about right there.
So the Saskatchewan Roughriders, after 3 interceptions in the fourth quarter by Tom Burgess, will have to cheer for Ottawa tomorrow in Winnipeg and hope that the Roughriders can knock off the Blue Bombers. Now, Ottawa beat Hamilton last week, but there was not quite as much on the line for the Tiger Cats as there will be for the Blue Bombers tomorrow afternoon.
Pretty rotten feeling there for Tom Burgess, sitting on the bench knowing that he had a chance and just came up a little bit short.
Well, Glenn, I said at the outset, Saskatchewan was only 3 wins away from a berth in the Grey Cup of Regina 3 Sundays from tomorrow.
Well, this was the big one.
Was the one they needed first. Dave Ritchie gets the Lions back on a winning track, and BC will finish the season at 10-8. Ray Young and the Saskatchewan Roughriders have to go home and watch one on television tomorrow and just hope for their cousins from Ottawa. That's our final game on TSN television for 1995, but we'll be around for the Grey Cup radio broadcast on TSN Radio. Sean Wells along with Lee Pedersen and Glenn sooner, and that's the story from BC Place tonight. Lions win by 5. The Riders' playoff hopes dashed, at least until tomorrow. Time now for the TSN Turning Point, brought to you by Sony. Too many interceptions by Tom Burgess. This one by Jefferson was all she wrote. As the BC Lions come back to beat the Saskatchewan Roughriders and ruin the Roughriders' playoff hopes. A cash donation we made to the Canadian Coaches Association for the training and development of amateur athletes on behalf of TSN and Sony, the new Sony Handycam Vision. Clearly the latest in video cameras. Ray Yock was close, not quite close enough. Dave Ritchie gets the win. The BC Lions head to the playoffs against Edmonton on a winning note.
So the BC Lions wrap up the regular season at 10-8. They will now begin defending their Grey Cup championship, just like last year. As John had mentioned, they will now head into Edmonton for one semifinal in the Northern Division. Let's run through our game story for you quickly. Corey Philpott with 2 touchdowns. He sets a new standard in the Canadian Football League for touchdowns scored in a season with 22. He was injured in the third quarter, but we saw him smiling on the sidelines. Hopefully he'll be all right. 10 points in the red zone. We talked about it off the top of the game. Saskatchewan, when they got into the 20-yard line, they had to score. Burgess with 3 interceptions in the fourth quarter, and penalties also hurt Saskatchewan. Make sure you stay tuned to the Sports Network. Coming up a little bit later on at 2 o'clock Eastern Time, it's Sports Desk with Teresa Hergert. She'll have all your hockey highlights and more. That'll do it for us this evening. Thanks for watching. Have a good night.
Deep into the play. Deep into the game.
And 3, Norm Cuthbertson of Camrose.